generation of the technological society, we have been acted upon by forces of such power that few, if any, of us can understand. Extensive information gathering on every American, human experiments with drugs and psychosurgery, electronic surveillance, the era of the computer, invasion of privacy, growing government and corporate power over our lives, a people plagued by dehumanization, loneliness, and violence. Dramatic? Perhaps. But we are losing control of our technology and our lives. Not so long ago, people in a similar situation did not awaken to the forces around them. Are we so unwise as to do the same?
Behavior control. And then you change it up every beautifully. Oh, yeah.
Alien, paranoia, enemy list, wiretap, dead acts, dossiers, medical records, social security number, credit record, national security.
With another agent, Pat Webb. Pat was an explosives agent. So we kind of opened the door just a bit to the cabin. And as we opened the door, we were both pretty much overcome as we looked across the cabin at the shelves that were built on the other side of the door. We could see coffee cans and bottles and jars, and they all had labels on them, and they were very meticulously done. You could see that some were labeled with the name of certain chemicals. One of the things we saw was a hooded sweatshirt, that was hanging up there. And the cabin smelled as if you might start to think, if you really think about this. This is a person who lived in this cabin. They had a cutaway spot on the floor to go to the bathroom in if he needed to. Had built fires in the cabin.
Internet. The creation of a collective consciousness and the merging of the human mind with the internet is the basis of the aspiration of the transhumanists, known as the singularity. Their dream of creating a global brain came nearer when Tim Berners-Lee, a British computer scientist and former employee of the European Organization for Nuclear Research, CERN, invented the World Wide Web. Berners-Lee's breakthrough was to marry hypertext to the internet. The underlying concept of hypertext originated in previous projects from the 1960s, such as the Hypertext Editing System, HES, at Brown University, Ted Nelson's Project Xanadu, and Douglas Engelbart's Online System, NLS. Both Nelson and Engelbart were in turn inspired by Vannevar Bush's microfilm-based Memex, which was described in the 1945 essay As We May Think. Berners-Lee founded the World Wide Web Consortium, W3C, after he left CERN in 1994. It was founded at the MIT's Laboratory for Computer Science, MIT LCS, with support from the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, which had pioneered the Internet. The transhumanists' idea of mind uploading is reminiscent of that expressed by Allen Ginsberg following his LSD experiments at Stanford with Gregory Bateson. While under the influence of LSD, the doctors hooked him up to an EEG machine, and following the suggestion of his friend and lover William S. Burroughs, connected a stroboscope blinking in synchronization with his alpha rhythms. Describing his experience, Ginsberg recounted, "There was no distinction between inner and outer. Suddenly, I got this uncanny sense that I was really no different than all of this mechanical machinery around me. I began thinking that if I let this go on, something awful would happen. I would be absorbed into the electrical network grid of the entire nation. Then I began feeling a slight crackling along the hemispheres of my skull. I felt my soul being sucked out through the light into the wall socket and going out. Point 1. During the final years before his death in 2000, Terence McKenna became an early proponent of technological singularity and called the internet the birth of the global mind, believing it to be a place where psychedelic culture could flourish. Point 2. However, as Derry clarifies in Escape Velocity, cyberculture at the end of the century. 327. 328. Transhumanism. But as Thomas Hine reminds us in Facing Tomorrow, what the future has been. What the future can be. Futures like McKenna's are stories we tell ourselves. About the present, an attempt to invest our lives with a meaning and a drama that transcend the inevitable decay and death of the individual. We want our stories to lead us somewhere and come to a satisfying conclusion, even though not all do so. 1264. Placing our faith in an end-of-the-century Deus Ex machina that will obviate the need to confront the social, political, economic, and ecological problems clamoring for solutions is a risky endgame. The metaphysical glow that increasingly halos the high-tech tomorrows of cyberdelic philosophers, corporate futurologists, pop science programs such as the Discovery Channel's Beyond 2000, or even ads such as AT&TSU will campaign, blinds us to the pressing concerns all around us. Point 3. As Eric Davis remarked in Technosis, some Christians, especially those with a brute Protestant conviction in the rock-solid inerrancy of the biblical word, would concur with Teilhard that our headlong flight toward planetization is part of a master plan. 4. Davis was commenting on Marshall McLuhan's 1969 interview in Playboy, where McLuhan mentioned that computer networks hold out the promise of creating a technologically engendered state of universal understanding and unity, a state of absorption in the logos that could knit mankind into one family and create a perpetuity of collective harmony and peace. McLuhan clarified, in a Christian sense, this is merely a new interpretation of the mystical body of Christ, and Christ, after all, is the ultimate extension of man. 5. However, as Davis pointed out, in a letter to the Thomist philosopher Jacques Maritain, McLuhan flip-flopped on the idealism he had earlier expressed. Electric information environments being utterly ethereal foster the illusion of the world as spiritual substance. It is now a reasonable facsimile of the mystical body of Christ, a blatant manifestation of the Antichrist. After all, the prince of this world is a very great electric engineer. Point 6. However, for the transhumanists, the internet is not just an agglomeration of inert information, but poses the possibility of humanity creating a collective consciousness of the mystics. Effectively, transhumanism is the hallucination arrived at by computer scientists on drugs. As psychedelic drugs impede the ability to discern reality from imagination, they often lead to the mistaken attribution of life, or even divinity, to inanimate objects, like a computer program. The ultimate foolish dream of the transhumanists is that with the creation of cyberspace, we'll be able to enter the pleroma, the mystical realm of the ancient Gnostics, by uploading our minds to the internet. Thus, the internet will have come to serve as a totality of human knowledge, the omniscient collective consciousness of Teilhard de Chardin, also known as the global brain. Global brain. The relationship between the global brain and the internet, and its connection to the thought of Teilhard de Chardin, is explained in The Lost Symbol by Da Vinci Code author Dan Brown, a fellow alumnus of Exeter with Stuart Brand and Facebook. The Singularity. 329. Founder Mark Zuckerberg. There is an important section from the novel, which is based on revealing the secret of Freemasonry, where Willis Harman's Institute for Newtic Sciences, IONS, named after the noosphere of Teilhard, plays a central role. Here the character Catherine Solomon explains the significance of Newtics. 2 heads are better than 1, and yet 2 heads are not twice better. They are many, many times better. Multiple minds working in unison magnify a thought's effect exponentially. This is the inherent power of prayer. Groups, healing circles, singing in unison, and worshipping en masse. The idea of universal consciousness is no ethereal New Age concept. It's a hard core scientific reality, and harnessing it has the potential to transform our world.
The Technological System by Jacques Ellul. 1. People are not machines, but in every opportunity where they are allowed to behave like machines, they will so behave. 2. 25 years ago, I arrived at the notion of the technological society, but now, that stage is past. 3. The industrial society. This term is very widespread, but I find it inadequate. 4. Present-day society is still industrial, but that is not its essence. 5. At one time, technology and machine industry were connected, but for more than half a century now, a gap has widened between them. Industrialism developed a centralized, hierarchical system, with a linear growth, a division of labor, and a separation between the means and the ends. Mechanization created additional jobs and made human work more draining. It operated by means of steady reproduction, developing masses of men and integrating them in the industrialization. 6. Modern technology, however, contradicts each of those different points. If allowed to act, it leads to decentralization and flexibility. It does away with the hierarchy and the division of labor. It particularly has to bridge the gap between implementation and management. It presupposes a polyvalent and nonlinear growth. It reintegrates the ends into the means. It cuts down on labor and thus on the costs of labor. The value factor is no longer human work but scientific invention and technological innovation. Consequently, we can no longer apply Marx's analysis, which states that the economic totality is based on the surplus value produced by the salaried labor of the worker. 7. The industrial system is a closed, repetitive world, with a linear revolution. The technological system is inevitably open, non-repetitive, with a polyvalent evolution. It can proceed only by the universal development of mankind, and that development is absolutely necessary for the development of the technological system. We are thus confronted with an ensemble that is totally different from any that has ever existed before. 8. Technology, conceived in terms of its automation, its chemical transformation of the world, its economy of energy, its cybernation, its data processing, its biological intervention, and its indefinite output of nuclear energy, has little to do with the old industrial mechanization. 9. Technology is power, made up of instruments of power, hence producing phenomena and structures of power, that is of domination. 10. Touraine, in contrast to Bell, hesitates about a qualifying term. Thus, he speaks of a programmed society. In this case, I am far more in agreement. For he thereby joins the overall outlook of those people for whom the new thing about our society is the organization. He sharply distinguishes between the primary, capitalist, era of industrialization and our era. He qualifies this new society in terms of 3 features. 1. The emergence of new social classes, technicians, bureaucrats, efficiency experts. 2. The new trend of business, which is now based on organization and no longer on the relationship between economic power and productive labor. 3. Spare time activities. All 3 characteristics boil down to a reduction and to the necessities of the technological system, which, as Touraine realizes, transforms the social struggles themselves. They are becoming more technological and are no longer subject to a takeover by the proletariat. Touraine adds one more essential feature of post-industrial society: the importance of the student movement with its deep contestation, its challenge, and its political weakness. But, as I have tried to show in my studies on revolution, I regard this feature as episodic and contingent. 11. What triggers consumption? Advertising, that is to say, the technologies of advertising. What is it that demands greater consumption? Mass production, which is possible only because of technology. What are we given to consume? Technological objects, because they are the things that are produced most. Hence, the consumer society, in all its aspects, is primarily characterized by various technologies. 12. Spectacle is a complete way of life. Consumption is a spectacle, so are political activity and leisure and work and family life and revolution. Modern man watches everything as a spectator. Everything is supplied to him as a spectacle, including the things he believes he is most deeply contributing to or participating in. 13. Technological activity is, by nature, spectacular, excluding all internal reality. Technological activity is what waters down all serious things, since no action can be performed any longer unless by way of technologies. 14. Z. Brzezinski, Between Two Ages, America's Role in the Technotronic Era, 1970, also figured he could add something absolutely new by coining the term, technotronic. He lists a number of differences between industrial and technotronic society. In industrial society, the machine plays the essential role. The dominant social problems are unemployment and employment. Teaching is done through human relations. The ruling class is plutocratic. The university is an ivory tower isolated from reality. Reading favors a conceptual thinking proper to ideologies. Political conflicts are intrinsic. The masses are organized into trade unions. Economic power is personalized. Wealth is the object of activity. 15. Technotronic is a portmanteau word combining technical and electronic. Come now. Isn't electronics technological? Does the word add anything to the early definitions of technology? Once again, technology equals the machine plus industry. Fine, then there is something new according to the famous definition. In a machine, there are material parts that move. Electronics operates with no moving material parts. Granted. But if the computer is not a machine in the normal sense, then in what way is it not the product of a certain number of technologies? In what way is it not integrated in a technological system? There is no reason to distinguish between technology and electronics. 16. Man can no longer be a subject. 4. The system implies that, at least in regard to itself, man must always be treated as an object. Today, this phenomenon is far more important than the renowned Marxist interpretation of commodity. 17. Nothing can have an intrinsic sense, it is given meaning only by technological application. Nothing can lay claim to action, it is acted upon by technological process. Nothing can regard itself as autonomous, it is the technological system that is autonomous, as we shall demonstrate. 18. No technician claims to be ruling society. There is no need to regard technicians as technocrats or to believe that a class of that type actually exists. 19. Colin Clark's classification is replaced by a different one. At the bottom, the unqualified functionals, then the functional operators, and at the top, the rulers, researchers, conceivers, with perhaps a fourth sector for the activities of operational research. In other words, the social distribution is, already, less and less in terms of activities applied to the economy, and more in keeping with the technological capacity. 20. The era of clerks, and these clerks are the decision makers in all domains because they have the knowledge and use of the technologies. Like it or not, and Hetman shows this so well, the experts, the specialists of diverse technologies are to be found everywhere, from business to administration, from government to agriculture. They form the true grid of society, the network holding the various pieces together. It is the technological coherence that now makes up the social coherence. But this is not a technocracy in the true sense of the word. 21. The discovery of the technological system normally seems like an attack against technology, a criticism of technicity per se. Any shedding of light on the technological structure is always received by technologists and intellectuals as an indictment of that structure, even if absolutely no value judgment has been expressed. 20.
I gotta go to work so I can work it out. Come on, computer, make it work. Come on, satellite, work with me. I gotta go to work so I can work it out. Come on, computer, make it work. Come on, satellite, work with me. I gotta go to work. Who would have thought that I would slaughter these jerks? The first full-time clocking serial microphone rocker. I used to jump on the stage back in the day wearing a stocking. To conceal my identity in any stereotypical venue. Never will I reveal the serious way that I feel. I'm on job time, all I do is talk into the steel. Use my style to hide and conceal. Profile and beguile while I smile and just say that I'm real. Bad luck strikes in 3, all of you will agree. I didn't have a heat shield, they rained triplicate on me. But it's squares versus circles, then, and if you can compare front and back are differentiated by a 90-degree square circle. If you know what I'm talking about, you know the code, work it out. Forced entry, I was disguised as a sentry. I gave not a care, life is an adventure to me. I obtained secret money and manufacture inventions, fracturing the line between space and time dimensions. Restructure the torque and the structural integrity, so I can walk on water while the returning surface tension. This making me an acolyte of the greater unknown, the word shark, king of these murky seascapes. Within my patriarch society, you cannot dethrone the intricate degree and climate that I seize from the police state. I gotta go to work so I can work it out. Come on, computer, make it work. Come on, satellite, work with me. I gotta go to work so I can work it out. Come on, computer, make it work. Come on, satellite, work with me. I still wish they made more girls like me, intelligent, beautiful, and looks like me. But they don't, so I stay fucked up like King Kiba. She's the type of person that will still rock La Tigre. I'm the type of person that will still sport feelers. I found this pair of size 15s out in Pasadena. Those are my work boots. I insert this into these jerks' necks, giving them a virus. They'll destabilize their hardware. Now I can tap in just to my onboard wet works. Plant the hidden charge there. It's a cellular reconfiguring program consisting of integers, turning human beings into kindling, whittling the psyche into an apparition, place it back into the skin. Now it's the ghost in the shell. Should I boast? Well, no. I stay on the west coast of hell, where hell's bullets is I know so well. I have my work cut out for me. This has its perks. Just then I realized life is mostly hard work. And why not get your car pulled off under you? It won't get sorted back from that dumb desk clerk. And who's the one to stuff for you? I didn't know what to do, so when in doubt, go to work. When I'm 25, I contract myself out once now I'm through. Then it's just books and beats for me. I leave the rap into my crew. I'm a good scientist and a world got cuckoo. Imagine how it is to watch them turn crazy around you and then look over at you like you are the insane one. That's how it is. It's okay to meet the controversy bubbles and flattens out like this. Left by little kids. And I've got to go to work so I can work it out. Come on, got to work for me. Come on, got to make it work. I've got to make it work. Come on, I can work it out. I've got to make it work. Come on, let it work for me. Come on, let it work for me.
Drop shit. Hegemonic sentences through cavalcades of reminiscence. The dark soul mentions crevices of insight, appendages of tripwire reverence. The Gun Hill legend brandish your weapons for Armageddon. Headless corrections for willing participants before the line finishes. I got shadow grimace, the obscene dream with human chaos for the pilot smoke screen. Combined with the best wishes, master attacks, detected full advanced craft methods that were highly adapted to the presence, sharpening psyche, which often might be construed as badly used or beautiful looks and flights to mirror the schism unseen hidden. The newest eyes cast shadows into the bluest skies until the Tory Alloy brought to the kings before me as a sacred justice plotted to misinform the whole decorous within construction. Nanonet filaments hidden secret touch, mystified by the comfortable and united by inner struggle. Hidden a bundle of scar-ridden enigmas. Now the claw is risen. Man is up with cheeky. With insight, disease praying to the east, not to the man-made structures, but to the rising of the sun. A comparison of those diligent millipede legs rushing around in any direction. Misperception and prism seem bad sign. And the best vision from the unlikely incision to the makeshift minions of bad decisions. I'm pressing danger to the head skill, get fixes. To level, hidden cages, you can't unstage this. Cause I'm live and in the basement with bones hitting all chrome, hitting with drones. Like a program metal skull covered in hard routinely cycled by a metronome. Bones are collected to make me feel like the connection is real. Not only steel can sharpen steel.
Yeah. Going through the different changes. From 1998, 99, 2000. Moving forward, technology. Astronomical spirits beyond enterprise, dark reflections repeats, material imperial, spectation raw, pedestrians walk by, image of people, recommended sound equal, extreme ability results on the front line, dimensional tax, overstated innovative, functions ironic, toxic waste forward tonic, government tendencies, Congress, public action, conspiracies, ease and breeze, flow with speed, stressful intentions, for times more personal, changing the temperature, more with the aperture, the galaxy's off-centered. Complexion of the atmosphere, conspiracy. Complexion of the atmosphere, conspiracies. Evidently supreme, status boost, intermission, imposition, new world order. On the border, legislative, activists, hurricanes twist, life is a real bliss. Pentecostal thrones, skeletons, diagrams, bones. Increase the Middle East. Agreements passed down from the First Amendment. Scientist studies Mars, different planets. Life exists or remains to be a perfect myth. Archaeologists, the past can't reminisce. Earth and its hassles, third world complication. Digital elevation, super world innovation. Aliens spotted, doctors finding bones rotted. In towns like Albuquerque, the news can't cover. Construction sites, asbestos releasing. Chemicals for medical interns discover more cruel. That's right, that's the only rule for feedback. Complexion of the atmosphere. It's complexions of the atmosphere. It's complexions of the atmosphere. As we go into the year 2000, remember way back, there was 1971, 1972. I'm out here. I'm out here. I'm out here. I'm out. Astronauts take off more, but can't discover. Eclipse casinos, Vietnam, Afghanistan. Summer, winter, spring, 4 seasons don't change, good for the right reason. Monkeys get tested, birds get taken from more animals. The platypus won't exist. It won't exist. Complexions of the atmosphere. Total conspiracies. It's governmental things. It's different. It's all behind the scenes. It's what you don't know. It won't hurt you. What you don't know won't really hurt you. Imagine from an angle. Just imagine. Complexion of the atmosphere. Complexion of the atmosphere. It's complexions of the atmosphere. It's complexions of the atmosphere. It's complexions of the atmosphere.
In the last few years, there's been a great deal of emphasis upon extraterrestrials visiting our planet.
Hey yo, these motherfuckers bugging if they think I hang it up. Pass the mic in my direction and I straight up bait it up. Really got the guns I talk about, I wouldn't make it up. Ultramag 4 horsemen, I'm about to raise it up. Till I'm cool Keith crazy with voices that tell me shit. Trigger fingers extended like E.T. with Elliot. You get your belly hit and shaking like ballistic gel. This is hell, bodies getting dropped like pennies inside a wishing well. Pennywise, fingers with Freddy knives and chainsaws. Put you in a coma, make your brain pause. This is why we break jaws. Singing Judas Priest while we break laws. Rock and break beats since Eazy-E sold 8 balls. I travel through space now and lay foes face down. Cause app is real, battlefields feel just like playgrounds. These little double time yappity yap rappers, I rapidly smack backwards, get battery packs fraction. We ain't in the same place or occupy the same space. So get the fuck out my face. I got that ancient technology. I keep the alien weaponry on me. I keep the alien weaponry. I got that ancient technology. I keep the alien weaponry on me. My verse makes earthquakes and aftershocks, scaring off massive flocks of birds on rooftops, shattering glass in your Apple Watch. Appernauts rocking like Axl Rose and acid wash. Astronauts blasting off, laughing while rappers watch in disbelief. This is beef, problems you never wanted. My raps killing tired crowds and leave your whole town haunted. And while you rocking man buns, I'm cocking handguns, sticking you for paper. I'll pass down to my grandsons. Fans run when apples on the stage. I'm metamorphing into a demogorgon. I give your head an abortion. I leave your brain in the dumpster, the braver the dumber. Cause some brazen motherfucker about to get his brains braided this summer. Since Biggie was unbelievable, I was similar. Assembling sentences like defenses established around perimeters. You outgun, outshine, must be out your mind. Raps is putrid, app is stupid, slap the fluid out your spine. Spit divine scripture, round sick of the polio. I'm Godzilla in Tokyo, dicks big as a totem pole. Got inhuman capabilities, kinda like Opio. Grabbing bulls by the horn, this ain't my first rodeo. Yo, we ain't in the same place or occupy the same space. So get the fuck out my face. I got that ancient technology. I keep the alien weaponry on me. I keep the alien weaponry. I got that ancient technology.
But what we seemingly have overlooked is the possibility that these records.
Yeah, welcome to The Machine Lies, where we talk about the lies of the machine on the machine that lies. And yeah, here we're talking about lots of different issues. First and foremost would be the genealogy of techno-liberalism and scientific totalitarianism. So we're looking at science, the scientific system as a worldview. We're looking at liberal values as a potential worldview, right? So we're juxtaposing several ideological configurations, starting from ancient times and then moving up to the present, right? So what we're trying to do is lay down the major principles, problems and themes, and the various dialectical aspects of those configurations. Rant, you got a little bit of a background noise there, but yeah, let's see if I can fix this here. Edit mic settings. Yeah, reduce background noise. Yeah, that's what I want to do. So yeah, we got different of the show topics here, right? And of course, I'm looking at the work of Henryk Skolimowski, right? Somebody who wrote numerous books, right? That I don't think that many people have read his books, right? Nonetheless, I think his views are extremely important, and I'm talking about extremely important, right? And you simply just cannot measure the importance of ideas based on their popularity. You know, that is a fundamental point. Rant, there's a lot of noise going on now. but yeah, we got El Pero, blessings.
Greetings, TML. Hey, I just wanted to come up. I don't know enough about the topic itself. I came up to address an issue where I heard you're a little upset at me. And
yeah,
I don't know.
Rent,
I don't know.
Here, hold on one second. Rent, can you hear me? Yeah, you got a lot of background noise going on. If you can mute up real quick. But yeah, blessings. Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, blessings. So, because it's like little cut in, audio's cutting in. But yeah, go ahead, El Pero.
Well, this recent situation with Landry and you, and
it's not a situation.
Right.
What situation are you talking about? You're talking about where they consistently lied and made up shit, and then you supported it?
I wasn't supporting it. No,
Hold on. You absolutely supported the lies, critiquing my intellectual accomplishments and all that stuff. The entire show was about that topic, right? So clearly you were aware of the discussions that were had beforehand and were going to be had afterhand, you know, about exposing me as a debate fraud and all that type of stuff, right? So, I mean, I haven't participated in many public debates. I have written one work, right? Now, for whatever reason, right, Landry accused me of plagiarizing, right? And other people have too. Actually, Toilet Bowl Earth actually accused me of plagiarizing too, right? But you know what really shocked me when they made those claims? They had never read the work in question. They can't even explain chapter by chapter or what was even stolen or where it was stolen from. So to make like a claim about somebody, right, and then not be able to back it up, right? And I'm not talking about he stipulated that this may have happened. I'm saying he outright claimed this many times. When told to exact proof about this, he failed to present the proof. Instead, he released a retarded video saying that I didn't understand a prompt in a debate topic, when actually, if you rewind the tape back, there was two different prompts on the table, right? One was about technology and AI in general, which I agreed to. And then there was one about the net benefit to society, which I also agreed to, right? So he then took that out of context, right? And then lied again on a video that actually said I was the liar, right? So for whatever reason, you paid lip service and support to this, right? Trying to frame me as an intellectual fraud by people who are actual intellectual frauds, right? People like Flow State, people like Landry, they actually are intellectual frauds. They have demonstrated to be intellectual frauds, try to talk about issues, lie about other people, make up information about people, spread disinfo about people, play characters on the internet, manufacture drama, which they admitted to doing on the internet, right? Which I have recorded on my show. Right. So instead of exposing their acting online, right, you went and participated in the LARP. Right. So this is this is the big problem, because you're a grown man. Right. So I expect you to know the difference between right and wrong at your old age. Right. So this is the problem. Right.
Okay. Well, the point here is, if you look at the video, I wasn't participating in the aspect of calling you names and saying you were plagiarizing. I don't agree with any of that. And when I did make a comment, it wasn't to disparage you. It was to try to point out the people that are sitting there saying that you do nothing but read all these, the work of like these other people, and you got a book published, and not to listen to you because you don't know what you're talking about, that you're plagiarizing. And what I made a note was that you can see that he did publish a book. And no, it doesn't sell, but that's because he doesn't market it. He's not trying to market it for money. He's putting words out there because he has an intellect. And if you remember, I was the first one on your panels. And that's because I have a connection with you with this psychological research.
So was
hold on. I'm just gonna land the plane here. I have an interest with the same intellectual content you're reviewing. The difference is you're so far more beyond it than I am. That's why I don't come on your panels anymore. I'm going to sit down and chat and listen to you, and I'm making notes. I don't know near enough about Nietzsche. You've done a beautiful job on Nietzsche. And
that is a part and parcel of what I did. And the only reason that people may know about this is because the other day I was giving an exposition about Nietzsche and other philosophers, Machiavelli and other philosophers on a very old video that I made that nobody had watched. Nobody in this so-called internet community had watched my video. They couldn't even get up and comment on anything I presented. They did not have the intellect or the ability to comment on anything I presented. Nonetheless, I presented what I knew for free on top of it all.
Exactly.
And that's hold on. Now it's my turn to talk. Then I gave a exposition. Actually, my book, right, is a 400-page explanation of those 3 paragraphs of Nietzsche. So I've done an incredible historical exposition of and framing of those words, agreeing, disagreeing, and communicating basically for free, right? And this is the key thing, right? Okay, is that there is no amount of professional services, no amount of corporations, no amount of organizations that have composed anything that I've put together or presented to anyone else, right? So that is the key that I would like to bring forward, right? Instead, you have the lowest of the low that are doing using AI to create their entire show, right? They can't think of an original idea on their own, right? Yet they want to stipulate that I'm reading off teleprompters, ghostwriting material, and all this stuff. So that is their own insecurity. I mean, right? Because they cannot perform. They cannot perform on
projection of what they're doing. And I agree with it. I agree with all of that. And you'll notice that on that show, that stream, I didn't have much to say because I didn't agree with what they were saying. And then when they spoke up about you just sitting here reading and plagiarizing, I had to say something. And evidently it got misconstrued, or I misstated it, because I never.
You did. You clearly misstated it. You said I published a book and it had no readers, just like Pauly Sr. And you put it in that negative context. You put it in that negative context because it's somebody that you and the whole crew were attempting to deride, which is somebody's dad, somebody else's dad, not even his own accomplishments. You're trying to ride somebody through the accomplishments of their father, which is like
that's Wizard style, bro. He played both sides of the fence.
Come on. Let's be honest. I
heard out of both sides of his mouth.
Look, I heard the entire statement. You're not going to get one over on me with the statement. Look, this is what happens when you bullshit against the machine lies. I call out every single aspect of your bullshit. Every single aspect of your bullshit. That's what happens, right?
Then if you get that
through your fucking head next time. So you get that through your fucking head next time.
Then if you listen to it, you'll find out that I stated right after that, I said that's only because he never marketed it. And then guess what? It was mentioned, and it's been mentioned a few times, and I hope people have asked you about it. I never meant it to be derogatory. Like I said, you're one of these people on the metaverse that I do respect.
Here he goes, talking out of both sides of his mouth.
No, I was the first one on your panel. If you go back and watch that panel, I had a deep curiosity and interest in the same topic. And
you're welcome to participate in the topics. You're not barred from participating in topics. I'm even not taking your moderator status. So I mean, I don't know how much more nicer do you want me to be? And I've exactly pointed out. And I've exactly pointed out what you've said to me, right? So I mean, this is the best I could do for Flow State, for Landry, for Toilet Board, for others who have derided me on the internet for no reason other than my own. And it's just your words. That's what I want, Landry and Flow State and Toilet Board. Yeah, that's what I want Landry and Flow State and Toilet Board and El Perro to know. It's just your words. You know, like you guys just say words. They just happen not to be true. I mean, that's all it is.
And I'm going to take accountability for that because I admit it does look bad that I was on that panel. But again, I never meant to disparage you. So please accept my apologies. And,
I mean, as I said, I'm not going to sit here and be disparaged by words because I have other things to do. Right? So it's no problem, sir. You can say whatever you want about me. You can have whatever opinion you want about me, good or bad. Right? You're welcome to have that and be on your merry way, of course. Right? Yeah. And you're welcome to come up here and offer me all the negative critiques you like. Right? But when you do so and present it, frame it in a what I believe is a dishonest way, I will respond to it and do measure. I mean, right? Because that's and I did the same thing to to modern men, LARPs again, and the other guy, right? So I gave them the same treatment. I allowed them to expound on their critiques, right? I even put them front stage, full stage on my channel, right? To expound on their critiques of me. You know, this isn't, you know, and they had very little, right? They had very little in terms of my presentations. So this is the problem. But yet they sat here, right? Okay, at least Flo, right? And this is very surprising in terms of Flo today, because as I presented on OTW, right, he found real benefit from my presentations. He admitted it. He admitted it on stage. So for him to sit here and say that I provide zero, I mean, the guy is, you know, a sleazy guy, right? Right, and that's to say the least, right? That's to say the least about him. I mean, he seems to be a scammer, a scam artist.
That's just how these Luciferians operate. They talk out of both sides of their mouth, and they think we ain't gonna catch on.
Right. Like, I think we're not gonna hold them accountable. We think they can't. Then lastly, they think that they can either perform at exposition of information or the drama better than us.
Well, and
when we are the topic of conversation, right? You know, so it's like, you know, good luck having your I mean, as I say, you can't have your LARP and eat it too.
Right, and again, I'm one of the ones that will step up and take accountability. So no matter what you think, Rant, I love you too, brother, and I appreciate your critique and being tough, because
don't love bomb me, bro. I don't give a fuck.
Well, no, I assure you, I am not the Luciferian you think I am. And the only thing I can do is move forward and hopefully try to prove that, because I'm not here to try to change your mind or anything. I'm here to be.
Hey, I'm just call a snake until it shows me otherwise. You know what I mean?
And that's what I'm saying. Until you see otherwise, I'm still going to be me. So hopefully someday you'll see that. And TML, again, my apologies, because I've never disparaged you intentionally or otherwise.
Since you are the only one out of the bunch, right? Because there were 6 or 7 people on stage, right? I'm still waiting for an apology from everyone. Flo, Ahimsa,
well, then let me be the first, because that's
Orthodox guy, right? I mean, all you guys were wrong, right? Landry, Flo, all you guys were wrong. So what's it gonna be? Either I'm gonna keep proving that you were wrong, right? Because I for some reason have tons of time on my hands, even though I gotta do you know, all these read all these teleprompters and all this stuff. So who knows, man? You know, whatever's going on here with these people, but yeah, if there's anything else.
No, not at all, brother. And like I said, when I first come up, I didn't want to distract, and you know, I know you've got good topics, and I'm gonna go back down and chat and listen. And you know, all I can do is hope you accept the apology, because again, brother, I never intended to disparage you.
Yeah, like I said, I don't really care, but you know, it's a cumulative effort, and those who are for me, you know, and those who are against me, I mean, it is what it is, man. You know what I mean? I'm putting forward what I put forward in terms of you know, different things. It's clear that these people don't find value in it, right? Because they've shown me, right?
Well, I'm going to tell you, keep being you, because you
stated that too, right? So you know, so it is what it is, right? So.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to repeat it then. You know, keep being you and keep doing that, because I at least do respect it and appreciate it. Be blessed, brother.
Yeah. So so techno liberalism, you know, has a lot of different elements that I described here for you guys, right? So if I could briefly talk about. Okay, and we did dwell on certain subjects yesterday, right? I gave sort of a pre-modern estimation of how those ideas spread, right? So so what I talked about was Rousseau, okay, his sort of collectivization of the spirit, right? Kant's borrowing of his moral philosophy, right? Okay, so we have the borrowing of Kant's of Rousseau's sort of moral philosophy and his extrapolation of his sort of project, right, for civil society, this idea of the collective spirit, right? Kant sort of put that in a sort of eschatological scheme, right? Meaning that it was about the sort of a universal brotherhood of man, right? That would come, sort of at the end of time, right? So this universal brotherhood of man, right? Okay, was sort of established in terms of like I said, the collective spirit, right? It went from the individual's soul, right? Okay. And of course, there's some of this within Paul, right? This sort of e pluribus unum. all for one and one for all, right? Okay, because we're all one in the body of Christ, right? So it talks about the collective spirit, right, in the body of Christ, right? Now, it seemed like Hobbes had secularized this notion of the collective spirit, right? He took it and emptied it of its sort of he took it away from being an aspect of the church, right? And he turned it into the notion of the artificial man, right? So this notion of the artificial man, that was the state, right, which he said was a mortal god among men, right, was sort of the machine that speaks for man. The state, this inanimate collective of human wills, right, was based in this notion of sovereignty. And this notion of sovereignty was the collective human spirit, right? Okay, and the collective human spirit, right, in terms of Locke, right, it fought against nature. For example, right, nature did not have the notion of universal rights already in it, right? But this notion arose with civil society, according to Locke. It was the notion of property, right, and the notion of value of humane industry, right, that transformed nature, right? So nature being transformed through human reason added the greater part of value, right? Now, for Rousseau, right, this fence meant as much constraining as freeing, right? Freedom as the fence to our self-preservation. It meant as much that it was a constraining, right? Just like he's going back to Plato, right? Plato said democracy and freedom, right? Right? Democracy and freedom, right? An excess of freedom is an excess of slavery, right? But instead, people like Hegel, right? They went against Plato's notion, and they brought forth this eschatological scheme of the world spirit evolving, right? Right, and of course, this world spirit was the collective spirit that was going to be merged with the apotheosis of the state, right? The state was going to become this divine being, right? Just as it was in Israel, right? Of course, this is part of the messianic expectation of the Jews, right? Because only there does the state, the temple sacrifices, right, the theopolitical laws and all this stuff become merged with the merged with the polis, right? It's in Jerusalem, right? Okay, Jerusalem was a polis, right? Okay, so you have these two this dual expression of this polis, right? One is as the sacred center of the world, right? The other is in Athens, right? In Athens, you have the polis sort of expressed as a combination of man and nature, right? Right, and this is seen within the Parthenon, right? How the Parthenon is sort of related to the countryside, right? It's elevated, right? It represents a merger between heaven and earth, right? It's got this, it's got gods in there, right? They're anthropomorphized. They're anthropomorphized, right? So you have this notion, right? Okay, you have this notion, right? and this is obviously Rousseau's notion that I've mentioned like 1,000 times on the show, right? Okay, because it's a central motif, as you can see on the bottom there, right? It's about man's sort of loss of the sacred in terms of nature. And it is a surprising conclusion for Rousseau to draw, right? He's going so far against the Enlightenment ideals that he's even turning against the Christian teachings. Okay. He says Christianity is useless for politics. Okay, he says a Christian soldier is not a soldier, right? So he makes these crazy statements, and then he reinvents this notion of civic virtue as a stately religion. He invents the notion of a stately religion, right? Okay, well, what were Hobbes and Rousseau really trying to do, right? They were trying to get rid of the notion that man had that the political projects existed outside of the divine sort of mandate, right? Right. This is what Hobbes meant by stating that the sovereign is a sort of artificial god, right? Even though he's formed out of the collective, right? Okay, so you have this notion, right, of the collective human spirit, and I've given many expressions of this, right, from its detractors and from its followers, right? Yeah, you know what? Let me take a sip of water, man. Fucking parched.
Shit. I'm about to pour up some fucking wine, bro. All right.
Yeah, there you go.
Water ain't cutting it. Water ain't cutting it. Beer makes me gassy, and alcohol makes me violent. So we'll go with the wine today. How you doing?
Doing all right.
I wasn't planning on hopping on so early, but I was eating dinner and I seen Wizard on there, bro. I was like, what the fuck this motherfucker doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's good on him to come through and sort of apologize for the LARP game, right? Because it's like there was a weird game going on there, and it seemed like a lot of people were participating in cloud chasing. So you put a public statement there, you know, that helps a lot, you know, because he publicly made a statement saying that I have a book, but it has no readers, just like Paulie Sr. This is what he said. So I was like, what does that even mean? Right. So he compared me to Paul's dad. And I'm like, all right, like what? All right. So I was wondering, like, you know, what he meant by that. So yeah, so that's what all of that was about for the people that are here who didn't understand the context.
That's a pretty deep stretch.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of them were going around saying a bunch of different stuff, right? And nobody has to mention the fact that I actually wrote a book at all, right? I simply wrote it to compile a bunch of information that I had in my head, just like the show is, right? So I'm not attempting to, you know, sell my ideas or create a cult, as I've been dozens of times accused of doing, right, in the past few weeks, right? So I don't know who these people are working for, maybe the ADL or something like that, where they're like, you know, like trying to poison the well that hard, right? It's like, did larger groups or people try to intellectually discredit me here, or why would these people focus on me for so long, right? It is actually a huge question, right? And of course, I'll be labeled paranoid for that, but
yo, the problem is that they're over there, you know what I'm saying, cupcaking with the fucking this side, right? Saying what they want to hear. And then they realize, oh shit, I done fucked up. So now they got to come over here and apologize. And then they'll be doing the same fucking thing tomorrow. You know what I mean? They're going to say whatever it is that the panel, right, that they're on wants to hear. Because they got no fucking spine. They got no substance. They don't care about accountability. That's what it's all about. It's all about telling you fucking sweet words in your ear while they're on the panel with you.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, right now, like
all
the
bullshit.
people, yeah, I'll tell you right now, the people that hang around here, you might fool 90% of people, but you're not gonna fool that many of the people that hang around here. So so that just goes to show, so let that be known. But yeah, back to this whole Rousseau idea, right, about the anthropomorphizing, right? First of nature, okay, and then the sort of deification of man. And then I'll get through to how man himself lost the his divine status, right? And then you have the desacralization of man, just as you had the desacralization of nature, right? So you have both there, right? So yeah. So it's so funny that you can write F Islam in the chat, but you can't say things about Jews, they'll automatically remove it. All right, that is actually insane. Right, I can't believe that. All right, it'll just automatically remove it if you write some stuff about Jews in the chat. Right, sometimes I've tried this before. Right, if you write stuff like Goyim and stuff, it'll like automatically remove it from YouTube. Right, sometimes, or at least I've tried. Right, and yeah, we're not doing that today. We're not saying fuck people, fuck this, fuck that. We're not doing that today. Right. All right. Yeah, let's just leave that alone. Right. Let's try to focus on the issues here. Right. Okay, Jews are good people, right? Some Jews are good people, right? Okay, Jews that follow the Torah, right? I think they should. I think they get some good points from the Torah, right? So yeah, yeah, the Jews that are using the Talmud and the Zohar in order to fulfill their messianic expectations with the political Zionists, they're cretins of hell, right? They should be
the only
opposed.
Jews that are good are the Jews non-Jews, all right?
But yeah, I mean, so yeah, we I mean, we could distinguish between all sorts of people, right? We could distinguish between the leader of these countries like United Arab Emirates, right, who create extremist Islamic groups, right, and regular everyday Muslims, right? We can do that, right? If we're intelligent, we can do it. Right? If we're not intelligent, we want to lump everybody into one group. We want to use a hasty generalization and other fallacious ways, right, of understanding things, right, in order to lose the plot. Right, then of course we can't build brotherhood or communion with any form of people. Right? So this is obvious, right? So yeah, okay, so yeah. So let's get up into it. Yeah, so I was talking about this whole scheme about the anthropomorphization. Okay, of man, right?
Anthropomorphization, all right?
Huh?
Can you use it in a sentence?
Yeah. the characters in the characters in Alice in Wonderland are anthropomorphized. Right, that means that yeah, that means they are human. They're human-like.
What is the origin?
Anthropos is a Greek word, right? You know.
How could any of y'all doubt this nigga? Come on.
Yeah,
this man's breaking down the etymology of anthropomorphism. I can't even say it.
Yeah, morph is to change, right? Os is I believe it's an ontological a sort of a thing that means it's of the same substance. So it's like so it's like it means it is, right? So it exists. It's like os is like is, right? So it's like anthropomorphos, right? That means that it's of the same form as a human, right? Essentially, right? It exists in the same form as a human, right? To break down the definition of anthropomorphos, right? And then there's anthropocentric, right? Which is to put man at the center of your cosmology, right? So that is another aspect of this, right? To put man at the center of your cosmology. Now, I do think there is a central place for man within cosmology, simply because it is man who has derived all sorts of cosmologies, right? Okay, God doesn't need to derive cosmology, right? Neither do the ants and the animals, right? So man is a symbol-making animal, as we've defined, right? So he has, constructed cosmologies, right? So the cosmological sequence for man is in terms of, to quote Rousseau, right? Okay, man first put first God was part of nature, right? So man saw nature peopled with spirits. Okay, so nature peopled with spirits means that it's a sort of quasi-pantheism, right? And this also has to relate to how spirit or mind is a part of the structure of the cosmos. Now, all the way up until Parmenides, mind is part of the whole structure of the cosmos, right? Okay, so this is important, right? Even after, long after Parmenides, okay, a lot of people were saying mind is part of the inherent structure of the cosmos, right? So so most of the ancient philosophers, they either followed a form of pantheism or they followed a form of non-emergence principle, right? In terms of mind, right? So they thought mind was part of the original structure of the cosmos, right? And you can see this in Thales, right? Okay, so Thales, right, which I'll quote in a minute, right? I'll actually look at some of his writings in a minute, right? We're going to take a detour and look at the pre-Socratics today, right? Some of the pre-Socratics today. Okay, so this is going to be an unusual introduction. Last Wednesday, I took a weird detour. Okay, I started looking at all sorts of nuanced theories, that are sort of interconnected. We sort of looked at the transhumanists and all those sort of things. I know we're having problems connecting to the physical YouTube, right? Okay, so I'm not worried about the views tonight. It's unfortunate because I went on lots of shows, right, to try to tell people what we're doing over here, right, to sort of improve the numbers, right? And now we're having these technical difficulties. So it's sort of bad luck, as they say, but it is what it is. So yeah, so first in terms of man in terms of man's anthropomorphizing, right? Okay, you have Rousseau's quote that man first he saw nature peopled with spirits, then he put God out of nature into the temple, right? Into the man-made structures, right? Then he kicked the gods out of the temples and put himself into the temple, right? This is the Promethean and the Protagorean, if that's a word, Protagoras, right? Okay, who famously said man is the measure of all things, right? The fantastical notion of this concept, right, that man is the measure of all things, it would not be fulfilled until our modern age, right? That man did not attain universal scope until the modern age, right? This is until he gained the technical means, right, of mastery over nature, right? Then he was able to all of a sudden say, all right, well, all these liberalism and these universalizing principles and these totalizing principles, right, of nature as mechanism and all this stuff, right, all of these have actually been fulfilled in our technical superiority over nature, right? So liberal philosophy sort of didn't really proliferate until the beginning of the technological age, right? It couldn't become proliferated, right? Because none of those things were true, right? That man had universal goals or aspirations until he was unified under the banner of technique, right? Then he could have universal goals and aspirations, right? After he had constructed a world technological system, he had constructed international trade, world government, global communications, those three specifically, right? Okay, then we enter the technotronic age. As Brzezinski says in the beginning of this whole thing, right? It's Big New Brzezinski, right? He's an interesting figure. Member of the Trilateral Commission, so on and so forth, right? So it's Big New Brzezinski, right? And his whole idea that we've moved into a new sort of a fourth industrial revolution. Right, this was sort of the concept, right, that Ellul is describing in the beginning of this show, right? And another thing that this fourth industrial complex sort of symbolizes is the universalism of man, right? Sort of this idea of forming a world government, right? Global distribution of resources, right? A global information system and all this sort of thing. So you have this type of stuff, right? Talked about, right? So this sort of points to what sort of Pannenberg was talking about, the supranational tendency of democratic politics, right? And that's sort of what I'm referring to, right? Is the universal goals of the democratic and the liberal values, right? That can only be idealized through the scientific project, right? The scientific worldview, right? Because that's the only way that gives mastery over nature, right? So it was necessary for these two things to combine, right? Technology and liberalism, right? In order for this world project to take shape, right? So this has happened through many different ways. So anyways, right? We turn nature into stuff, right? Okay, we become alienated from nature, right? We get the loss of human traditions, right? And of course, this happens in the spiritual form in terms of the religions, right? Okay, and there's three main religions that we've touched on, right? Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. All three of them contributed to a sort of birth of the scientific worldview, right? And they did this because they created the notion, okay, of creation ex nihilo, right? And they framed God as a necessary being, right? For the next 500 years. For the next 500 years, okay, God would be defined as a being whose essence, okay, precedes existence, right? As a necessary being of Avicenna, right? Descartes, Leibniz, and Spinoza defined him thus, right? They all used Avicenna's definitions, right? A Persian philosopher, right, who was called an apostate by Al-Ghazali, right? So so it's very interesting, right? Now Maimonides was heavily criticized by other philosophers like Gersonides, right, and others, right? There's a guy named there's a guy named Gersonides who will famously critique Maimonides, right? So so you guys could look this up, right? So Maimonides was challenged in his own time, right? What was the challenge that people offered, okay, to people like, okay, Aquinas, okay, and also also to Maimonides, right? Well, what did Copleston say about Aquinas? He said he was basically an Aristotelian philosopher, right? So Aristotle's definitions, right, held for like 1,000 years. Right? This is extremely significant, right? So Aristotle was like the most up-to-date science for like 1,000 years, right? Then it was Islamic science for 500 years. Then it was Europe, right? From Newton on, right? They vastly superseded the Islamic sciences, right? By creating the idea of empiricism, right? And by technical mastery over nature, right? So now you have the birth of this global system, right? Which not only constitutes a scientific world view, right, but also the loss of human traditions, right, and especially the loss of the religious traditions, right? So this constitutes a global system, right? So so this idea of techno-liberalism, right? Okay, now for Aristotle, right, and the Hermeticists, okay, I briefly touched on this yesterday, right? Nature had to be there existing alongside God. Okay, this meant that nature was eternal. This meant that it followed eternal laws, right? Otherwise, what were the laws of nature doing before the creation of the universe? Right? If there's laws of nature exist and they don't change, they're fixed laws, what were they doing before the creation of the universe? Right? Were they just dormant? Right? What were they contributing to? It's obvious, right? For the Christian, Islamic, Jewish philosophers, right? That A, right? These laws existed in the mind of God, and B, that nature was not eternal. It was not formed of a prima materia, an eternal substance, right? So they said nature had a beginning, right? And then the second step is to understand God's entrance into time, right? The notion that man is made in the image of God, right? And I mean, as Saint Eusebius said, in order for man to become like God, God had to become like man.
Oh.
You know, so there's this bridge, right? As I said in the Parthenon, right? So there's this whole notion of anthropocentrism, right? Summed up again by yours truly. I'm going to go into the idea of nature, okay? The idea of sacralization of nature.
So, machine lies. You agree with Al Ghazali's statement? Fire doesn't burn the cotton, Allah burns.
We already went over this. Went over this. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So you don't think chemical reactions just go on themselves, that they need the will of God, inshallah, to allow them to continue?
How did the universe come into existence?
I believe the universe always existed, just in different forms.
Okay, so do you believe in the Big Bang?
Yes.
So how did that change happen?
Don't know.
Have the natural laws always existed?
We cannot know that.
Okay. There you go.
Okay.
You know what I mean, right? It's unanswered questions. Okay, Ghazali has legitimate answers, right? Just as all the scientists do,
Oh,
just as
sure.
the Platonists do.
Anyone can say the legitimate answer is God wills it. I mean, end of discussion. God wills it. Okay. That can be a point made.
How come Hume agrees with them?
Well, maybe Hume is an idiot. I don't know.
Yeah, Hume's an idiot too. Everybody's an idiot. I mean, this is getting ridiculous.
Banking.
Yeah, I mean, Hume said, right? Whereas the billiard balls smashing into each other, right? There may be minute causes in between the causes that we don't yet see, right?
Well, I think.
So is there a way to disprove that?
You would strike the cue ball with the cue to drive it into the other billiard ball. So there's an obvious force acting on something.
Yeah,
else.
empiricism folds in on itself. Read read the ideas by Bertrand Russell, right? Right in his Appearance and Reality, right? He says basically what empiricism amounts to is solipsism, right? So this is dead end, right? It's an epistemological dead end, right?
There is a way to disprove it. Yes.
Yeah, Kant disproved it. Kant basically disproved empiricism. I mean, for what it's worth, his system is a lot more rational than the empirical system. And obviously Plato's system of dualism is way more rational than Kant's, but I believe in a monistic system is the best of all, right? And I think so does Hegel, really.
Yes, I am a monist. So the claim that there could be something smaller that we couldn't see, well, so pretty much we just go small enough till there's no like, how do you say it? There's like no room between one thing and another thing. Then you have to find the smallest unit. You can find the smallest unit it's possible to do.
Are you sure? So you say the uncuttable exists?
Yeah, I would say the uncuttable exists. Yes.
Okay, well that's an interesting view. Do you think it has some minute property of mind as well?
Yep.
Okay. So that's interesting. Yeah, that's kind of what Skrbina believes too. Is naturalistic monist, and the individual pieces all have mind. So yeah.
Which is why I have issues with the continuum when it comes in mathematics. It just doesn't necessarily apply to this universe. So.
Oh yeah, I forgot to send you me and not me. I mean, I did talk about it with him. But of course, all the credit goes to Avian Buddha for doing a presentation about the philosophy of mind. right up your alley, because he compared Dr. Skrbina's panpsychism with Bernardo Kastrup's idealism. So I was I'm totally thinking of sending that to you because it's right up your alley. So yeah.
I have a question for a Bunny Christ. What's with that avatar?
Here, I'll put myself here. so like, so Hank feels better. But yeah, blessings to it. But yeah,
what's with that other avatar? Do you like Pittsburgh? Bunny Christ.
How do you like Pittsburgh?
I asked you first.
You know what I'm saying?
I asked you first.
You still working at that Amazon fulfillment center, Hank?
Sure. Why not? I'm working wherever you say I'm working.
Okay.
Yeah. So the separation of nature goes sort of a different way, right? This has to do with the dialectic from spirit to mind, right? From ethereality to immateriality, right? Obviously, as I discussed the ideas of the prima materia, right? Well, what was added to this was the notion of the logos spermaticos, right? I think this was Justin Martyr, right? Coined the term, right? Of these, seedlings of ideas that develop over time, right? These dormant ideas that develop over time, right? There's a sort of engine of history, right? As Philo said, creative reason is the firstborn son of God, right? And he called it the logos, right? Sort of mirroring the prologue of John, right? Enarche kai hon logos, right? The ruling principle is logos, right? Which whether you ask, John or Heraclitus or the sophists, you'll get a different answer over what that logos means, right? And indeed Philo is a different guy too, right? Philo did a whole different thing too, right? Yeah. Buddha. Yeah. Yeah, and Buddha's like, he's like said he'll always chip in on the shows on Saturday. So he's very kind. He's very generous with his time there. I greatly appreciate him. So yeah, we love Buddha. Right, he's a deep thinker. So are my friends up here right now. They're deep thinkers. And
Hank's a deep stinker.
You never smelled me in my life. You don't.
I wouldn't smell you for money.
I wouldn't pay you.
I bet you smell like popcorn and farts.
Oh, check this out. We actually got a little chart of these guys. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Lost 10 viewers. Come on now. What the hell?
Yeah, the machine lies. I respect your preference for less drama on your show, so I will disengage Bunny Christ and leave the stage.
No, it's no worries. Yeah, but yeah, we can't see this right
now. Viewers, bro. Just got to get Hank's ugly face off here, bro.
And nor would it be any no, we appreciate Hank, and all the people that call in, even Alpero, even though he said those things, so yeah, it is what it is, and yeah, blessings to all the people that are out there, right? But yeah, okay, I can't put that up, right? But anyways, what it says here, right, is that Thales, okay, then Anaximander, then Anaximenes, right, then Pythagoras, then Xenophanes, then Heraclitus, then Parmenides, then Anaxagoras, then Protagoras. Okay, Gorgias, Antiphon, Socrates, Democritus is after Socrates. So this is a pretty interesting list. Okay, I could do a lot with just this list right here, right? Because this list sort of breaks down how we went from how we expanded our notion of of this anthropocentrism, right? were removed from successive instances. Hello, wife. But yeah, blessings.
How many viewers you got right now, bro? I can't see
21,
it.
21. It went from like 31 to 21. So
you want to bring them back up?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
All right. I'll take my shirt off and watch the viewers. They're going to skyrocket.
No. We can't do that.
Yo, this is YouTube, bro. You got to get down and dirty if you want the views. That's all I'm saying.
No, they're gonna flag the shit out of us, bro. But yeah, man.
Not for a man with no shirt on. If I had titties, maybe.
Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah.
They're gonna slam you right into the top of the algorithm for mans with no shirt on. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I take my shirt off too. I look like Marilyn Manson.
That's what I'm saying, bro. You want to see the views go up, bro? We can just take our shirts off and sit here and talk about nothing.
Yeah, you guys want to see my rib cage? You guys want to see my giant rib cage from a 6 foot tall man? It looks like a fucking. All right.
It's got a fucking xylophone under his shirt and shit.
Exactly. Where that link? Okay, we got Zeph out here. Blessings. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Blessed to the Zeph. Okay. So all the other people. Okay. So what was I saying? So the collectivization of man and the apotheosis of the state, right? So let me briefly talk about this. Then I'm gonna play a video of a fire dragon, right, covered in metal. He's gonna go destroy every city on Earth. I mean, we've got two videos, one fire dragon, one water dragon. I mean, so I hope you guys could appreciate it. I mean, so yeah, man, I carefully curate the videos. I mean, I don't think people notice enough. But yeah, this idea about the collectivization of spirit, right? First, there's if you could see like a shell around man, right? Where he's linked to the earth, right? Sort of like an umbilical cord, but it's like a spirit shield, right? Shattered spirit shields with lyric fields, right? So yeah, this whole idea of this spirit shield, right? Of this connection with the spirit of nature, right? Man was connected to the spirit of nature. Remember, nature was peopled with spirits, right? Then you have the notion of the soul or the spirit, right? And this turns into the rational being, right? So the rational aspect of man, right? Now, this rational aspect of man is collectivized in the notion of the state or of human society, right? Being superior. Okay, so there you have the collective spirit, right? I gave several references for this notion of the collective spirit, right? And then you have the sort of notion of man being engineered by his environment, right? And combining with the mineral, right? So this lowest stage of man, he sort of combines with his own creations, right? So there's a sort of creating man, right, from the bottom up, right? And so this construction of man, right, is seen as like sort of the naturalism, right, or the materialism, spectrum, right, of the scientific worldview, right? And of course, we've talked about that many times, right? There's a dual pull between individualism and collectivism in this, idea, right? So yeah, so that's where we're at. We're gonna move to Skolimowski, right? We're slowly inching our way there, right? We're gonna talk about the pre-Socratics, right? Give me 1 second now. Anyways, let me move out here. let's move to this thing. I'll drop the link again. We'll move to some music. We'll get into some things. We got a couple things coming up here. So yeah, I appreciate you guys. Reddington couldn't be here. Right? Avian's kind of working now, right? So as I said, he'll join on Saturday sometimes, right? So yeah, so let's get up in this yeah, okay, I remixed this. Got your back. You guys ever hear this? I got your back, but you best to watch your front. Okay? Cause it's them niggas who front. They be pulling stunts. Definitely. And definitely pull stunts. I got your back, but you best to watch your front. From Jizza, right? So yeah, blessings to all the people. All right. Great song. Remixed it, right? And we and of course we got the Fire Dragon. Blessings to all the people. We'll be right back.
your best to watch your front. Cause it's the niggas in front, they you pulling stunts. I got your back, but your best to watch your front. Cause it's the niggas who front, they you pulling stunts.
I was always taught by do's and don'ts, for do's I did, and for don'ts I said I want them from Brooklyn, a place where stars are born. Streets shot up, apartment buildings are torn and ripped up, stripped up, jacked up and backed up. Things got the bosses on the scene and got it cracked up. Kids are slinging in my lobby, little Steve and Bobby, getting paid, but it's a life-threatening hobby. Yeah, they still play hide and seek. The things seek for the crack and they hide and let the cops speak. Grown folks say they should be out on their own before the gangs come and blow up their mom's home, because their lifestyle is hectic, so fucking hectic. Blah blah blah, bullets are ejected. My lifestyle was so fucking well. Could've wrote a book with the title Age 12 and going through hell. Then I realized the plan. I'm trapped in the debt and video game with just one man. So I don't only watch my back, I'm watching front. Cause it's the niggas who front, they be pulling stunts. Back on the Ave of the Bonia in Bristol with a pistol, sticking up Pamela and Crystal. You know your town is dangerous when you see the strangers. Kid, I hope I'm doing the big nothing changes. What is the meaning of crime? Is it criminals robbing innocent motherfuckers every time? Little shorties take walks to the schoolyard, trying to solve the puzzles to why is life so hard. And as soon as they reach the playground, wow, shots went off and now one of them laid down. It's so hard to escape the gunfire. I wish I could rule it out like an umpire, but it's an everlasting game and it never ceases to exist, only the players change. So I got your back, but your best to watch your front. Cause it's the niggas who front, they be pulling stunts. I got your back, but your best to watch your front. Cause it's the niggas who front, they be pulling stunts. I got your back, but your best to watch your front. Cause it's the niggas who front, they be pulling stunts. I got your back, but your best to watch your front. Cause it's the niggas who front, they be pulling stunts. I got your back, but your best to watch your front. Cause it's the niggas who front, they be pulling stunts. I got your back, but your best to watch your front. Cause it's the niggas who front, they be pulling stunts. I got your back. I got your back, 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 so the rest to watch the front. The niggas get you front, they be pulling stunts. I got your back, but the rest to watch the front.
It's the niggas who front, if we wanna stunt.
To my own neck. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, pretty brutal, from a kung fu movie, right? He said your technique is astounding. When cut across the neck, a sound like a deep winter breeze can be heard. And he said, I've heard, he said, I always wanted to perform such a technique, but to have it happen to my own neck is ridiculous. And then he dies making the sound that he's talking about. So yeah, it's pretty wild. But yeah, okay, so yeah, Killer from Liquid Swords, right? Obviously, right? Okay, right, you can't beat weapons that are constructed, with liquid swords, right? The tongue is a liquid sword, 2 edges, right? It can help and hurt, right? As we've said, right? So yeah, so everything I say that is false, right? Please know that it came from me, but everything good that I say, it came from the Most High, right? So yeah. So,
yo, I just want to know how I'm wrong for almost taking my shirt off, and you got Zephyr over here with her pussy on camera. I'm just saying.
it's just one tit. It's not a big deal. It's cool. I'm cool with it. She's an elderly.
He's a terrorist. He's not a pussy.
Oh, you're talking about this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I said she got her pussy on camera.
Yeah, but Zeph is cool, man. I like Zeph. Blessings to Zeph. The little guy. Right. I love you guys, man. So yeah, so all you guys are here. Check this out. The earliest traces of Greek philosophy come from Miletus. A thriving. Oh shit! Am I on the wrong page? Oh no, I'm not on the wrong. Oh yeah. Actually, I wanted to go over this first, right? So Thales, right? So Thales, as I said, he's a guy who believes in pantheism. Anaximander believes chaos is the ruling principle, right? Anaximenes says it's mind, right? So it's getting more and more abstract. right? As these eternal principles sort of are generated, right? Right. You got Pythagoras, right, who says all is number. Right. So even going more abstracted from mind, you're looking at the products of mind itself, right, which is number. Right. Okay. And Xenophanes, right, he's the one that actually thinks of monotheism, right? So he says, well, these principles of mind and number, they have to be contained within some sort of eternal being, right, that sees all things, thinks all things, hears all things, right? So his sort of God was very similar to the God of Moses. Xenophanes, he could have like heard it from Moses or something like that, right? Heraclitus, right, who said it's all one, right? Okay, Heraclitus, who said it's all one. Huh. Remrek.
Yo, every time I hear Heraclitus, it sounds like a disease that turned you into Hercules.
Yeah. Yeah, Heraclitus and Parmenides say all is one. Okay, so you're getting division from monotheism to the underlying principle that exists within nature. Right? So you're moving from God to nature with Heraclitus and Parmenides. Right? With Anaxagoras, right, he's kind of saying it's like a sort of reason or intellect that's sort of stirring things, right? So I think he's the one who comes up with the idea of the nous. Right? And then you could sort of move from there to Gorgias, right, who sort of rejects that idea and says everything is language and symbols. Right? And then you could go to Socrates, right? And this is now moving from 600 BCE to 500 BCE, right? You have Socrates, right? Right, and a little bit after Socrates, you have Democritus. Okay, Democritus says everything is basically atoms and the void, right? Socrates is combining a you know, I don't know. I think he's like combining atomism and monism, right? So he's combining the principles of mind, right? I think he combined the ideas of Anaxagoras, right, with the ideas of Democritus, right? So I think Socrates was like a mediator between the two, right? Well, then obviously you have Plato, who was a dualist, right? Then you have Aristotle, who rejected the forms. Okay, and the spread of Hellenism, you have the birth of, Aristotle, 400 BCE, right? Plato is like somewhere in the 300s, right? Okay, you got Epicurus around 300 BCE, right? And then you got the Stoic philosophers, right? So Epicureanism and Stoicism were after atomism, right? So there you have a brief chart, right? And then all the way near 100 BCE is when you have the writings of Cicero, right? Who are then using the ideas of Plato, such as the Republic, right, of Plato, and expanding on them, right? So there you have an explanation of different philosophers, right, and what they thought, mind and nature were, right, in relation to God, right? Okay, in the first sort of 400 years there, right?
Yo, you got Stoicism also coming out of Marcus Aurelius, right?
Right. That would be after Cicero, right? Right. So that would be.
Yo, what I find funny,
yeah,
is like as stoic as Marcus Aurelius was, right? As stoic as he was, when his wife cheated on him with a gladiator, he still made her bathe in that nigga's blood after he beheaded him. I'm just saying. It's not very stoic.
No, it isn't. Okay, so we got Zeno of Citium. Okay, he's like around 300 BCE. Marcus Aurelius is around like 200 200 CE. So he's after Jesus, right? He notably killed some Christians, right? So yeah, so there's our boy Marcus Aurelius, right? There's like 400 years between him and and the birth of the Stoic philosophy, right? So the Stoic philosophy is banging for 400 years before Marcus Aurelius, right? It's fascinating stuff, right? And of course, Zeno was the first guy, right? So yeah, so let me move into Thales here, right? Let me move into Thales here, right? Who said all is full of gods, right? He was a pantheist, right? So yeah, so let's go to this. It says, it says the earliest traces of Greek philosophy come from Miletus, a thriving port of the coast of Asia Minor, modern day Turkey, right? That's where Paul was from too, right? Right. It was around where Paul was from, right? Like Tarsus, Ephesus. I believe that John the Apostle was like from Ephesus, right? I could be wrong, right?
Yo, I'm not really positive about John the Apostle, but I know Paul come from where Mithraism was founded.
Right. Paul's from Turkey, right? He's from Tarsus, right? I believe that John is from Ephesus, and I believe that that's where Heraclitus was born as well. So a lot of the philosopher sages, these guys are called philosopher sages because they combined religion with philosophy. Right? There was no separation between religion and philosophy and science at this point. Right? You got to wait till Aristotle to get there, right? And there's good reasons for that, right? Okay, so yeah. So it says it's a thriving port on the coast of Asia Minor, right? You can imagine that, right? 600 BC, you can imagine a thriving port in 600 BC, right? To which they brought the spirit of public debate, characterized their politics. Openness was a feature of their religion too, since Miletus had neither a priestly class nor sacred text. Finally, in economics, the Milesians traded with the older civilizations, Egypt and Mesopotamia, and became acquainted with the ideas about the gods, the cosmos, and the stars. From such exciting milieu of rational criticism and intellectual innovation and foreign influence emerged three great thinkers, Thales, Anaximander, and Anaximenes. Thales, Anaximander, and Anaximenes. Okay, so let's take a look at this, right? Thales lived in late 7th century, holy shit, and early 6th century. Oh my God. So he's from the motherfucking 700s. So he's way more closer to the Hindus and the Zoroastrians in 2000 BC. Okay, I don't think that the pyramids and all that stuff was built then, right? I think it was built way, way earlier than that, right? But there's evidence.
Yo, I think Hank's asking if Google is technology. Is he retarded?
Yeah, according to Ellul, it is. According to Ellul, technology is basically like, there's different types of it. There's, machines, but there's also techniques, right? And that's according to, that's according to Mumford too, right? And they come up with that definition for different reasons, right? If you'll observe the recent interview, right, that I found, right? You could go to NPR and go to Jane Goodall, right? Her interview with Terry Gross, I think, right? She literally said that animals construct tools and even make tools, right? So to say that man is differentiated because he creates tools is false. right? So it's our forms of social organization, our forms of language, our forms of mechanical technology, right? The complexity of it. That's what separates us from the animals, right? And all of those are based on semiotics, right? As me and Buddha and others have discussed, right? Right, it's based on symbol making, right? Construction of signs and symbols in relation to the environment. It's a sort of cybernetics, right? And of course, cybernetics is about organization of information, right? It's not about pure. It's not purely about physical technology, right? It's about the flow of information through a system, right? Anyways, given that it's a closed system, right? But that you could have an infinite amount of variables within that system, right? So yeah. Anyways, religious traditions belong to the same period: Zarathustra in Persia, Gautama Buddha in India, and both Confucius and Lao Tzu in China. Okay.
Yo,
So there's an interesting thing, right?
I think whoopee cushions are technology.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the ensemble of means. Yeah, the ensemble of means towards a particular end. That's how ellul defines the term. It's kind of an elusive definition. But yeah, it's critical to our discussions, right? And also looking at the state and political techniques as an extension of the technological aspect of man, right? So yeah, so all of those things are highly significant. But yeah, let's go to this. It says yeah, these guys, Zarathustra, right? Obviously, I think the King Cyrus was a follower of Zarathustra, right? Okay, Gautama Buddha, right? Okay, he lived around 600 CE, right? I think Lao Tzu was closer to like 500, I think, right? And
Yo,
Confucius, I think,
you
was
could
closer to like
argue-
500 to 400.
You could argue that Zarathustra was like a foundation for a lot of religions,
Right,
including
right.
like Gnosticism and shit. Because
Oh yeah,
the way that it's
yeah,
kind of
definitely.
laid out.
Oh yeah,
And then,
definitely, like
like,
Manichaeism, Sabian religion. Right, there's a lot of those. Religions. As I said, they incorporate the idea of the archetypal man. The prophet Mani actually saw himself as an apostle like Paul. Right. So yeah, it's interesting. So yeah.
They got like an ever burning flame, right? That they keep burning all the time.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's
then
what
they believe,
Heraclitus
like,
worshipped.
They believe that
Heraclitus,
like the
yeah.
creator created Earth as a trap for Satan, essentially, right? Ahriman, right? You got
Right.
like Ura Mazda is who they call like the Almighty Creator, and they believe that like physical reality was a trap for Satan, and he couldn't resist it and became trapped in the physical reality. And like basically now human beings have to escape the matrix.
Exactly. And like if you look at like Buddhism is kind of similar, in a sense, about the idea of physical reality. But yeah, some of this was going on in terms of also they were one of the first religions to think of like a messianic concept, right? Where like they had like eschatological scheme. So yeah, so though Thales did not found a religion, later Greeks esteemed him as one of the 7 sages, since he began a tradition of critical inquiry into many subjects, including geometry, astronomy, cosmology. One of the most famous achievements was the prediction of solar eclipse in 585. Holy smokes. Right, so all of these sort of philosophers were also scientists and mathematicians. Right, Plato was a mathematician. Right, Aristotle was a scientist. Right, I think Parmenides did politics and stuff. Right, I think Heraclitus was actually like a mystic. So yeah, so they had all sorts of as I said, knowledge was not compartmentalized at this time. Right, so he studied many subjects: geometry, astronomy, cosmology. One of the most famous achievements was the prediction of solar eclipse. As I said, like the Babylonians, Thales viewed water as, in some sense, the basic stuff of the cosmos. Like the Babylonians. Interesting. Even though his Milesian successor rejected his view of this. Right, so water is kind of like ether. Right. Okay, ether is, it may be a term that Empedocles made up, right? So so we're definitely not going to get to Empedocles right now, all right? I've just started reading some of this and it's like 2 hours into the show. Okay, we got 2 people on panel. And of course, they're welcome to respond to any of this. And of course, I'll drop the link again for you guys.
And a cat. There's a cat here too.
There's also a cat.
It doesn't necessarily elicit responses. I try to throw in a little bit of shit here and there, but I just want to hear you roll out all the shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a little video in a minute too, and we got some music in a minute. Yeah, I'm gonna try to speed this up because it's been 2 hours already. I need to go across the room and get another. I need to like get more water here, for sure. Yeah, I'm parched from talking. But yeah. So like the Babylonians, Thales viewed water in some sense as basic stuff of the cosmos, right? So I said that's kind of like like they don't really mean water. It's like in the story of Shvetaketu, right? In the story of Shvetaketu, right, in the Upanishads, right? It says, in the beginning was consciousness. Consciousness said, "May I become many," became light. Light said, "May I become many," and became water. Right, from that water was birthed a bunch of things. Right, in the Tao Te Ching, it says 1 became 2. Right, 2 created 3. Right, and 3 created the 10,000 things. Right. So as I talked about, right, what's the 2 really doing there? Right, the 2 is just like sort of a vessel. Right, it's kind of like the ground of creation. I mean, right, because all it does is give birth to 3. Right,
I thought 2 was a ramp.
Yeah.
It's the only even prime number.
Right. So it's important, right?
Yeah. No, you had an excellent. Rant's been a great example of dualism all night when you had that earlier. 2's been the number all night. You pulled up Rant twice as you're talking about dualism really quick. It was pretty good because he had to. It was great timing, dude.
Twice. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I didn't notice that. Yeah, that's funny. We need to clip that. We need to clip it. Oh man, I've been clipping like crazy, man. I clipped this.
This is uniquely subjective. Everything is uniquely subjective.
Wow. Like you just opened them up to every attack in the world there.
I know, right? It's just like madness. It's like
I actually agree with him too, a little bit. But
it's like chaos. Yeah, I know. He's like a chaos magician, like Zephyr at this point. It's like he's like Zephyr and Hank at this point. He's like, yes, the chaos.
Oh my God!
Hank
There's no
worst
restraint.
magician ever, and the problem is that he has a really low IQ.
No, I don't think that's true. I personally don't think that's true.
It's true.
Hank is playing dumb.
Yeah.
That he's playing
He thinks
stupid.
people believe the bullshit he says nonstop, then he's dumb.
Yeah, and I'm just a dumb girl. Whatever.
No, it's more like the range of subjects and material. I mean, right? That Hank knows about. So, like, there's a
Listen,
lot of
he sits there and Googles shit and reads it back to you. And
no,
now you
absolutely
think he
not.
knows things.
No, no, we did a little show where we did like philosophical definitions and stuff. So he's looked at, like, he can talk about Castrop and all these guys. So sometimes it's useful to have him on board, and it's better if he stays here and talks to us than goes to the other places and talks to other people. So that's
I got
definitely
no sympathy for gay black witches. Just saying.
Is this snafu?
I love
Snafu.
everyone. You know how
You're
I
up
am.
here. I'm
You know-
glad to hear.
Yeah, you know how I do, man. You know.
I don't
I
get
like
it.
both of you, so
Did somebody
whatever.
did somebody get
I don't understand how you do, but I do
yeah,
know
did
how you
somebody
do.
did somebody get banned? Did somebody ban Michael? Please don't ban Michael in the chat. So no banning Michael.
And ban him. I timed him out for 30 minutes. Tell him to stop crying like a bitch, or I'll do it again.
It's just 30 minutes.
Oh, okay. yeah. So Rant timed you out for 30 minutes. So it wasn't my fault, Michael. So it wasn't me. So I told him not to do it. Right. So
Michael does get off the wall
Tell him to
sometimes,
say
man. I can
something.
understand.
Tell him to say something about Islam again. I fucking dare him.
Well, sometimes it's useful to have those discussions, and especially useful because a certain group of people may watch these shows, right? And if we don't critique Islam, but we critique another group of people, they might choose to just shut down our entire channel, right? So that's also a good reason.
Nick Fuentes?
So we can... no, but the people that are likely funding him, right? But yeah,
Yo, there's a
anyways,
way to go about it. Just saying fuck Islam is not the right way to go about it. Let's be honest.
Oh, I told him. Yeah, I
All
told
right.
him that. Yeah, I said no saying fuck Islam, no saying fuck the Jews. We can't type that into the chat. And then actually have people think that we're contemplating serious themes and engaging in intellectual discourse over here. I mean, no. So
And
so
he's been
that's totally,
untimed out for over an hour. Just saying.
Yeah, that's not professional. This is a professional arena, right? Obviously, right? This is a public corporation, right? They choose what it goes on their website. So as you behave professionally at work, behave in the chat, right? Because these are public statements that you're making, right? So please be advised that what you're saying could be clipped, right? Could be screenshotted by anyone, right? And into the future,
And used
right?
for any purposes.
Yeah, used for any purposes, right? So please be advised of that, right? So if you get triggered in the chat, it's just best to ignore the person who's trying to trigger you or whatever. I mean, and all this, types of things, right? And I give lots of little tips like that, right? How to deal with the personalities on the internet, right? So we've done stuff like that. On the show, we've created a space that we've given advice on how to engage, right? So yeah, anyways. Like the Babylonians, Thales viewed water in some sense as stuff of the cosmos. This is really weird, but it ties back to the story of Shveta-Ketu, as I was saying, right? Okay, this idea of consciousness emanating light, emanating water, right? And also the Tao, right, as this idea that water is, the highest good is like water, it says, right? So yeah, anyways, but the following short accounts from Aristotle revealed the new spirit of critical speculation he initiated, as well as the debt to older animist ideas. He was an animist. All things, Thales said, are full of gods. Are full of gods. What a crazy statement. All things are full of gods.
So is that like he's saying like all things are full of the spirit?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So I have a technical support thing for you. You can use the settings tab to ban words and phrases so you can make the technology work for you.
Oh, I didn't know that, yeah. I didn't know you could ban words and phrases, but that's going off the boards, right? That's like censoring. That is actually censoring speech in real time. We would not like to go that far. We'd just like the people to be respectful and or jokingly form their complaints and be lighthearted and so on and so forth, so that we can engage in a more, critical fashion, right?
Yeah, but if the platforms
Well,
that use the words as excuse to take your channel down, you might as well just proxy
Yeah.
their
Yeah, I had to tell.
garbage.
Yeah, I had to
just to
tell.
protect
I had to tell
yourself.
her. Yeah, I had to delete. I had to delete Emperor Lorp's comments earlier, right? Because he said PDF in the chat. So yeah, people figure out all the time new things, right?
I want it to be known that I would like Hank, at least for my channel and stuff, and perhaps even the panel verse itself. Like, if anyone has complaints about how chat's being handled, they can take it straight to Hank.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. So let's go to this. He says, of those who first pursued philosophy, the majority believe that the only principles of all things are the principles in the form of matter. Okay, for that of which all existing things are composed, and that out of which they originally come into being, and that which they finally perish, the substance persisting, but changing in its attributes. This they state is the element and principle of things that are, right? So he's saying two things are happening there, right? One is existence, right, with a capital E, right? So he's saying things exist, right? But he's saying they also change, right? So he wants to underline the principle by which they change, right? And there he'll outline the principle by which they're ordered, right? By which they're ordered, right? So yeah. So let's go to this.
Wow.
Yeah, and of course that's
Dude.
Aristotle metaphysics, right?
Yeah,
so let's go
dude, oh my god, dude. Can you repeat that one more time? Because I learned a lot right there, and I just want to can you please say it like the last?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. It's existence with a capital E, right? Right. He's underlying the principle of change within nature. And he's saying that if you understand the principle of change, you can understand the principle of order. Right. So that is what
And
I just said.
in comparative to how like water has several metaphysical states, it can be ice, it can be liquid, it can be gas. In comparison, you made that connection as well.
Those are physical states, though. Just saying.
He said that.
Well,
Yeah,
for
he said
sure.
that. Yeah. Here's what he said. And I'll read it all again, right? Because it is a powerful statement. He said, of those which pursued philosophy, the majority believe that the only principles of all things are the principles in the form of matter. Right. So he's saying it's stuff for that which all existing things are composed, and out of which they originally come into being, and that to which they perish, the substance persisting but changing. Right. Persisting but changing. Right. You know, and so yeah,
But it's still like, sorry, but
Yeah,
everybody like ultimately compares God to the spirit, like is the closest physical form because Zephyr said it's physical, but it's like the air is the spirit. It's the spirit. It means like
he's a pantheist, right?
Hmm.
He's a pantheist, like you said. All things are full of gods, right?
Hmm.
You know. So yeah.
Well, and I like interact with spirits of nature, and some of them are elemental. So yeah, I get that. But I was just like unclear about whether he meant to say metaphysical
So
or
with
not.
the
That's
ones
cool.
that aren't elemental, like where are they from? What are they of?
Well, it's just a different. It's a different appearance. It's and yeah, it's dynamic, just like physical, but it's not as, I don't know, massive.
What if they were just different states of like matter expressing itself too? Like, because it's like when you trace everything down, they say we're carbon-based beings, and when the carbon in its purest form is graphite, which we write with, it means to write. And there's a written record of all the graphite and how it travels through, and it's a metal, and that's why they want to make graphene. They want to reverse engineer the whole graphite process. through graphene and make it seem like it's new technology. They'll try to figure out on a different level about how.
Have you seen the little engineered beings that Michael Levin's been making from frog stem cells? That's pretty crazy shit right there.
No,
Yeah, you should check it out.
I'm kind of scared too.
Yeah,
kind of scary.
yeah. Actually,
It is
yeah.
scary.
Actually, Avian talked about it. You guys want to see?
Yeah, it's
All right,
really.
let's look into
crazy.
it. Let's go.
It's not that scary. It's very trippy though, and yeah,
Mhm.
definitely needs some.
Well, I know they have like human baby like neuron brains, like that they stem cell brains that they use to computate AI responses now. Like it's getting
From what I
ridiculous.
can tell, he's under the impression that there is a form beneath that, like a spirit of some sort, that because it's like he doesn't tell these stem cells what to do, and like it's crazy. Yeah, you'll
Well,
see.
stem cells in the body were kind of miraculous. They would just kind of find the thing, like scientists say they were the basis of like the first thing that we make when we start to divide, like are the stem
Yeah, but I mean,
cells,
they're
and they
no
figure out
different from
what is
other
needed.
proteins, really. I mean, like it's so weird.
Yeah, here it is.
And now we're seeing it. You see, they kind of tiny living robots built from frog stem cells. Skin heart assembled into designed shapes that move and do simple tasks. For example, this is Michael Levin. The research he does is very creepy. You have xenobots, limb regeneration, and the power of cellular communication. Basically, it's researchers use evolutionary algorithms to propose shapes. Cells self-assemble, and heart cells contract to power motion. So, locomotion, pushing, carrying microcargo, limited self-healing. I don't know, mostly bad. Why it matters. Proof that programmable multicellular life can act as a tool, blurring robot with organism versus organism. So xenobots basically blur robot versus organism, from fringe to normalized. Once tabloid sounding, xenobots now show up in peer review or mainstream coverage because it was rolled out. You know what I mean? Another so-called conspiracy-ish idea turning into just tech. You know what I mean? So here's another example.
Well, axolotls also developed sort of monopolizing on that whole idea, but it was like a natural thing, because they pretty much like stay adolescent in their physical form forever instead of like maturing and becoming land-loving creatures. They stay underwater like a salamander, and they live a really long time. They can regenerate any of their limbs like a flatworm. Pretty much. It's like crazy.
Yeah, it's creepy.
I like it though. It's cool. I mean, they're a cool creature.
Yeah, I don't know about all that, but
Not an axolotl fan.
Well,
Oh,
when it
no, I
comes
like
to like
axolotls, but
the flat Earth,
not the xenobots. I mean, but yeah.
axolotls are cute. They
Yeah.
live only in one lake in South America.
Yeah, I like
But
those guys. Yeah,
they're
I
amazing.
saw them in Minecraft. They made them in Minecraft. They don't do anything. They're just different colors and.
Yeah, I have a bunch of keychains that have a different color
like
axolotls.
they say, the waters above and the waters below, right, in the firmament and all this. What they say elementally, water is just air. It's oxygen and hydrogen, and that's it. It's already what we breathe in. It's just in a different formation of elemental bodies.
Yeah, that's what Anaximene said. So that's two guys away. He actually says that right now. So yeah.
Yeah, but it's not.
Well,
You know what I mean?
but I don't know.
It's not air because it's water. That's why you're calling it water and not air, stupid.
Well, clouds are
But
kind of in
it's of
between.
and what is the etymology of spirit or psychology when the psyche is like it's the mind now as we understand it.
I've heard it been say like all three, like spirit is fire, spirit is water, spirit is air. Haven't you guys heard this? Right?
Yeah, earth, air, wind, fire, or earth, air,
That's a different. Well, that's a different thing.
water.
That's yet another thing. Simply what I'm referring to is the idea that the base of spirit is either aether, and that aether could be either air like, water like, like
Bro.
lava or something like that. Or like,
Yeah,
that's
so
what- yeah.
so air has
Either
nitrogen.
yes.
Let me finish. Air has mostly nitrogen in it. Water doesn't have nitrogen in it.
Right. So yeah. So let's get up.
Honk, honk.
So
What,
this
you
is-
don't believe in nitrogen?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, but let's check this out. So this is the thing I was trying to get to is all existing things are composed of that out of which they originally come into being and that out of which they finally perish. The substance persisting but changing. Okay, so this is a very important point, right? So he's saying all things. First of all, he's making a statement about the universal principle, right? So so it's very important, right? It is probably like if you heard somebody saying something like this, you'd be like, it's very authoritative, right? It's very conclusive, right? So yeah, so here he says, all things are persisting and changing, right? They come out of being, right? And he said the state is the element and principle of things that are. So there's the idea of existence with a capital E, right? So he's saying that in the ontological sense, right, all is not becoming, right? It's being, right?
It's recycling.
It's beingness, exactly, right? So yeah, the idea of beingness, right? So he said, for there must be one or more than one nature out of which the rest come to be while it is preserved. Okay, so now I'll go to the next one, right? I'll go to the
And
next one.
as we understand time, we see water be a liquid, a solid, or a gas. Like as we see time, it has nothing to do with what is, or that's how we perceive time. And that's our relationship to the elemental influence of that element.
Yeah, that is weird. It is weird that air is both a it's a state of being, right? And a sort of material, right? It could be like a type of gas, right? So what's interesting about air is water can go into all three states. Right. So it's interesting what Truth are saying, and I think Thales would agree with that. So he says, however, not all agree about the number and form of such principle, but Thales, the founder of this kind of philosophy, declares it to be water. This is why he indicated that the earth rests on water. Maybe he got this idea from seeing the nourishment of all things is moist, and that the hot itself comes to be from this and lives on this. The principle of all things is that from which they come to be, getting this idea from this consideration, and also because the seeds of all things have a moist nature, and nature, oh my God, he said the seed of all things have a moist nature. Okay, it sounds kind of weird, but still, it's like interesting, right? The water, so he's kind of talking about motion there. The water is the principle of nature of moist things. Moist.
I heard a great thing earlier. Somebody said they tried to bury me, but they forgot that I was the seed.
Right.
That's a whole quote.
Yeah, it's good.
Yo,
Because I don't even want to give the context of what I was gonna say. One time,
what's
up,
the
man?
story with the painting, bro? Tell me about it.
Well, at one time I will. We're gonna get into this at the fulvic acid versus the meth. The meth. You want to represent meth as like a good idea? What is it again?
Listen, you need to stop.
Debate of the
You need
century.
to stop. Number one.
The debate of the
That's
century.
number one. You're almost as bad as Hank now. All right, both of y'all got to get off my dick. Number one. Okay, with the methylene blue and Hank Bunny Christ bullshit. All right.
Get your paws off his
I'm
dick.
living in Hank's. Hank's living in my head rent free. Okay, and methylene blue's living in your head rent free. You need to calm the fuck down with the methylene blue. Right? You talk about it more than me. I mentioned it like twice. All right.
I
Now,
have
number two.
I think that's
Number two.
underreporting.
I'm having a hard time, right, taking you seriously, True the Cobb, when you out here selling books that you could get on Amazon for $13, and you out here selling them for like $35 on your stupid ass bargain bin website.
So
Okay.
you went to my website. You're a
I'm
website
also-
fan. I've never heard
I'm
more. When
also
are you
trying to
live? Let's
figure
go. Oh,
I'm
let's
also
go.
trying
I
to
want to
figure
hear
out-
complain.
I mean, we
I'm
would buy
trying to
something from
figure
you, but we
out-
don't know where your website is. So
Listen.
we're
I'm
just
trying to
not good at
figure
business.
out.
Yeah, we
Shut the
know.
fuck
He's
up,
been
Hank.
digging.
You're not
All
good
right.
at business, Bunny Christ.
I'm trying to figure out why you wear a turban with a motherfucking mockingjay on it. All right. I still don't understand. All right. I'm
Oh,
also
one day
trying
we'll
to
get
figure
there.
out
Listen,
why
why are
why
you
were
trying
you-
to derail TML's
why were
show?
you a legal writer for a motherfucking trailer insurance company? I don't understand these things.
What?
All right.
Wait, what was this?
How you became a truther? I don't know. I don't
The
know. man.
last one I never hear before. What was that?
All right. How did you become a legal writer for a trailer insurance company? What the fuck even is that?
Oh, dude, I
What
got
kind of
much better, dude.
scams
Hey,
are you
hey,
running?
look at you,
I need to
Business
know-
Insider, insider.com. Do you want the fucking link? Insider.com.
I need to know why.
I gave a
why are
direct
you
quote with
running
my
so
legal
many
name,
fucking
Rant.
scams?
Do you want to go there?
Why do you got so
Business
many
Insider,
scams?
insider.com.
I know your
have
legal
my
name.
legal name on an article of their fucking
I
website.
know
What do you
your
want?
legal name. I know it.
Yeah, you
All right?
should. If you don't, you're
I'm
a
not
fucking
trying to
retard.
dox you, but I've got the info, and you're not making sense anymore.
So my
okay?
question is, you're collecting all this information, but you're too afraid to provide your own. Where's your balls?
Hank, watch yourself, okay? That's all I'm gonna say, Hank.
Where's your balls?
Hank, they're gonna be in your mouth
Any
soon, okay?
complaints against Rant can be brought up against Hank with Hank. Hank, we'll take care of this.
Yeah, let's get up into some music. Unless somebody else has anything else to say, you guys could take it
Oh,
wherever you want.
excuse me. I jumped up here because of music. I dropped a link in the backstage. It's called Church Beef, and it's only got a few views, and it's this random. And because I found it. I saw this funny video, and somebody said Church Beef is the best. I said I want to see a video compilation of Church Beef, and I found one song. It was like from 2 weeks ago, and it's pretty good. It's like some random. It's not AI as far as I can tell.
Is it clear on copyright though?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like some tiny artist. It's like no, if they would put TML's not getting, he's not monetized, so it wouldn't make a difference. He's not putting ads up, so yeah, no, it's fine for sure. Because the worst thing they would do is put ads on
Yes.
the video.
Clowns are entering a world of fucking pain, okay?
If you say so, Bunny Christ.
All right, so
Just keep laughing, Curious George. Just keep laughing, all right?
Are you triggered?
I'm super triggered, apparently.
So yeah,
Can you hear how triggered I am, Hank? Super triggered.
Yeah, very triggered.
Yo, you better go give Steve back his hat.
And the song is like so apropos to like the Panelverse as it is right now. It's like it's church. I encourage you to check it out.
this has to be the most comprehensive introduction of Thales ever presented. It's like 2 hours of materials just on one guy. So I mean, it's insanity. I mean, I still haven't moved on to the second guy.
Oh my god! I thought we had a music break, team. Why are we getting more
we're about
names
to do it.
up?
Yeah, we're about to do it. Yep.
All right.
Water Dragon.
Uh
So
oh.
yeah, it's crazy. I mean, but yeah, let me get up in this. Yeah, so we'll be back in 3 minutes. We got one of my favorite songs, Blue Flowers. Right, from the Dr. Octagon album. If you know, you know. Right, for those who know, they know, right? Those who don't know. Oh. Anyways, here's a water dragon, just like the fire. You know, we had a fire dragon before, right? So yeah, blessings.
Dr. Octagon, paramedic fetus of the east with priests. I'm from the church of the operating room with the strikes of force, scalpels since the Holocaust. I do indeed and greed, explore, meet the patients. Back to rooms with the nurse with the voodoo curse. Holding up office lights, standing at huge heights. Back and forth, left wing, swing to north. East to south with blood pouring down your mouth. I can prepare with the white suit and stethoscope. Listen to your heartbeat, delete, beat, beat, beat. Your insurance is high, but my price is cheap. Blue flowers, grown by the purple pond. Blue flowers, grown by the purple pond. Blue flowers, growing by the pond. It's raining yellow. Would you care to listen to any more? Holding bags on down right from the hospital. It's a patient work to keep the germs off the turf. Cybernetic microscopes and metal antidotes. Two telescopes that magnify the size of a roach. The computer to cup a corporate planet with my hand and astral planet detached. Turn on red foggers. Cut the light on the kid and turn it bright on. Supersonic waves combined and burn his brain waves. I see the mascot of evil. He's not evil. Shakespeare's gone. Don't even think about it. Yes, as I go into the park, I see blue flowers draining green. By the pond, blue flowers. It's totally raining green. Blue flowers. Smell the bees and the birds. Blue flowers. Different aspects of life. Blue flowers.
That's right.
I love
just left that-
Kaiju.
Yeah, I just left that that Predator commercial in there. But yeah,
Oh, that was actually new Predators coming out. Oh Lord.
yeah, that's fun. Yeah, that's dope. Predator and Alien, it's always good. But yeah, man. So yeah.
So they had a Naked Gun remake apparently too from that freaking era. Like you can't replace
yeah, they made
Leslie
Naked
Nielsen.
Yeah, they're making Naked Gun again. Holy smokes.
That's bad recycling.
sound
Don't
like
they have
Kermit the
original
Frog,
ideas
dog.
anymore? Jesus.
You sound like 3 years ago in the Panelverse rant, number 2 or whoever you are.
How you sound
Is
like?
that like a
how
is
you
that like
sound
a
like Kermit the
retard in
Frog?
a wheelbarrow? Is that your avatar? Like a retard? He doesn't know what he does with the sigh. He's like, oh, I'm gonna hold it
Tell
above
us
my
about
head.
Golden
It might cut
Renaissance
off my own
Productions.
head, and it could end me from this
Tell us,
suffering that Truthicop's putting me through.
tell us how you were exposing the trucker rally. Tell us about it.
Oh, I fucking exposed them
How'd
so
that
bad,
go?
Rand.
What'd you
Dude,
expose them for?
oh, they don't talk about it, do they? That's all you need to know.
Tell us. Well, tell us what you exposed them for.
Hey,
To my
agreements are made.
knowledge, they was fighting.
It's none of your
freedom.
fucking
What was
business,
you
dude.
exposing?
How's it
How
have
about we-
anything to do with you?
How about we trade? Bunny Christ, you fulfill your promise to the ladies and take your shirt off on camera, and then treat the cop and tell us about
No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Hank just wants to see me with
Yeah,
no shirt.
let's not make it like Jeff's and show nipples.
That's
a good point.
Jeff's.
That's gay, Hank.
Yeah, but
You offered it.
Yeah, they had a shirtless show over at Jeff's. I showed up in a rhinestone bra.
Whoa.
Yeah, I skipped that show.
Is that? Never mind. But yeah,
Hank wears rhinestone bras too.
Prove it.
And what's your point? That would be hot. I'm cool with that.
He needs something. He needs something to hold his titties up. You know what I'm saying?
No. Yeah, let's pop over to I don't know if I should move on. I mean, it's terribly small for just daily, so we got to move on to the next three guys. I mean, honestly, next two guys. I mean, honestly, yeah, I mean, after this, it goes to Pythagoras and the Pythagoreans. I mean, right?
I like Pythagoras. I was thinking about starting my own math.
TM, I'm already trying to get. Are we going back in the math? We're not doing math, are we?
Hell yeah, we're doing math.
No.
It's the pre-Socratics. It's the pre-Socratics. So if you go to college, they'll teach you this in Intro to Philosophy, right? So essentially, that's where we're at right now. So it's kind of like undergraduate. I mean, the undergraduate thug dizzle, right? Essentially, so Anaximander. Actually, you know what? Let me not skip these things. So he said some people claim that the earth rests on water. Indeed, the account attributed to Thales of Miletus is the oldest we have. It rests allegedly because it floats like wood and other such things. For in fact, none of these by nature rests on air, but does on water, as if the same account that applies to earth didn't also have to apply to the water that supports the earth. Right. Okay, so that's Aristotle talking about the theory. He's saying look, it doesn't really make sense, right? Because look, something has to support the water too, right? So he's saying this sort of naturalism. The sort of naturalism cannot be true, right? So but I think he would have agreed a little bit more with the animistic idea, right? Because he rejected the forms, right? So they moved back into a sort of quasi-animism, right? Some declared that the soul is mixed in the whole universe, and perhaps this is why Thales thought that all things are full of gods, right? So from that has been related about him, it seems that Thales too supposed that the soul was something that produced motion. The soul produced motion, if indeed he said that the magnet has soul because it moves iron. Okay, so let's sort of break this down, right? There's a existence of things, right? That existence is subject to change, right? And basically it's the soul that moves things, right? And it's sort of an attractor, right? And all things are full of gods, right? So it's a sort of pantheistic, animistic idea, right? So as I said, right, nature and God were not separate in his sort of summation, right? It became more abstracted as the time went on, right? So then we have this, right? Anaximander was said to be a student of Thales. Like him, he reduced the complexity of the cosmos to one thing, which he called the indefinite, right? It's like chaos, right? Chaos is a ruling principle. This abstraction, notice how they said that. This abstraction, right? Okay, it's abstracted from what? From nature, right? Right? This abstraction, right, introduced into Greek philosophy the notion of a supersensible reality. Okay, so check
from
that out.
the exact commander. From the exact commander.
Yeah, it's dualistic. But what are you saying, Truther? I don't get what you're saying.
What's this guy's name?
Oh, Anaximander. Yeah, it does sound like the exact commander. Yeah, exactly. Anaximander. Yeah. Yeah, it kind of sounds like salamander. I mean, but like Anaximander.
Yes, it goes. But
right?
yes,
How it's called.
yes.
Yeah. So
I was gonna say, yeah, I was gonna say that wasn't a coincidence. It sounded like salamander.
Yeah, exactly. And then he says, so it says treating this reality as divine. Okay. So the reality that's separate from nature is divine. See, you could see how this already influenced Plato, right? Because it's a sort of quasi-dualism, right? So he says, treating this reality as divine, Anaximander characterized it as steering all things. Okay, so there you have the steering all things as in Heraclitus, right? Okay, the thunderbolt steers all things for Heraclitus, right? So you have already you see this abstraction causes this notion of this principle to emerge, right? Okay, as separate from nature, right? Okay, and introducing this idea of time, right? Okay, yeah, okay. So yeah, so he says steering all things in a law-like way and exacting retribution for injustice to one another. Though described somewhat poetically, the indefinite addresses a problem that Thales seemed not to have recognized, and that of explaining how opposite natures could give rise to one another. How something wet or water, for example, could produce something dry or earth, right? Okay, of those who declared that the first principle is one moving and indefinite, Anaximander said that the indefinite was the first principle, an element of things that are. And he was the first to introduce this name for the first principle. He was the first to call the first principle indefinite. He says that the first principle is neither water nor any of the things called elements, but some other nature, which is indefinite, out of which they come to be, all the heavens and the worlds in them. The things that are perish into things out of which they come to be, according to necessity. For they pay the penalty and retribution of each other for their injustice in accordance with the ordering of time, as he says in a rather poetical language. Okay, this does not have a first principle, but this seems to be the first principle of the rest, and to contain all things and steer all things. So there's the steering all things. Right, as declare, who do not fashion others' causes aside from the indefinite. So obviously there's three things there, right? There's an ordering principle, right? There's the actual stuff, right, in nature, right? And then there's the steering of it, right? So there's a moving and
To organization of it. command with execution. It's like the executive of a company to command.
No, that's ew. I think it's more like a fractal god concept, sort of. Yeah.
It's also a ship commander too. It's many things. It's not like it's not one and then the other only. It's all things. It's all aspects.
It's like in the Matrix,
Undefined.
right? Like the architect, or some shit. But
Undefined.
and he says, for this is divine, for it is deathless, indestructible, as Anaximander said, most of the natural, Anaximander says, and most of the natural philosophers. So Aristotle in his physics is talking about the natural philosophers, right? So those guys are kind of like proto-scientists, right? They're going to remain baby scientists until the 1600s, right? Until science is going to finally become unleashed, right, by the bounds of both philosophy and theology, right? So it says some like Anaximander declare that Earth is at rest on account of its similarity, for it is no more fitting for what is established at the center and equally related to the extremes and move up rather than down or sideways, and it is impossible for it to make or move simultaneously in opposite directions. Therefore, it is at rest of necessity. Okay, so I have no idea what that means, right?
Me neither. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, but you could think like as Thales was doing, he was giving like astrological opinions, right? He was saying like, well, this is the nature of the cosmos. just like Thales did, like scientific experiments and predicted that an eclipse would happen, right? He was like doing astrology stuff, right? So you could see that as a student of Thales, he's making statements about the laws of nature and all this type of stuff. Aristotle, he referred to him as a natural philosopher. So let's go to this. He also declares the beginning humans were born from kinds of animals, since other animals quickly manage on their own, and humans alone require lengthy nursing. For this reason, in the beginning, they would not have been preserved if they had been like this. So just like so as we're going to talk about with Pythagoras, right? He talks about change, right? Animals changing into different animals, right? This idea of evolution, right? But he puts it in the idea of reincarnation, right? So so Plato borrowed this idea of reincarnation in the transmigration of the souls, right? So yeah. So okay, so moving on to one more guy, and then we'll move on to Skolomowski, via Pannenberg, who we've taken a great look at, the ideas of Pannenberg, right? He's related lots. Yeah, go ahead.
When he says lengthily nursing, is he referring to like dying in a nursing home? Like,
No,
that's pretty lengthy.
no, I think he's talking about the adolescent and child like state.
Yeah.
Length of parenting.
Yeah, like how long do they need before they like learn to walk and learn to like move around and can get food on their own? So for humans, it takes extremely long compared to other animals, right? So this is what he's referring to. So it says here, Anaximenes. Anaximenes made air the basic stuff of the cosmos, allegedly noticing the moist air, when condensed, becomes clouds, and that clouds, when condensed still further, become rainwater. Apparently, this led him to speculate that water, were condensed still further, it would become earth, and more rarefied, it would become fire. Although Anaximenes may seem to have retreated from the bold abstractions of Anaximander's indefinite, he did specify a process by which things might be converted into one another, namely condensation and rarefaction.
Chemistry, yeah, they hadn't figured that out yet. Quite, huh?
Well, I don't know if we've figured it out, right?
Not
Because
completely,
isn't
but
it just
yeah.
like, yeah, it's like little quarks and gluons and right, like what exactly is going on there? Right now, and you
Yeah,
smash
we're
that
further
stuff.
along for sure in that though.
Yeah, because all of the table of elements, right? They have a set of electrons and protons, so you can see on a on a submolecular level what it looks like. But then when they smash those, they have no idea what's going on, right? So they've only seemingly scratched the surface, but it goes back to the problem that they're talking about. This problem of the problem of uncuttables, right? Hank has declared that they exist, right? I don't think they exist, right? Personally, I think you keep subdividing to infinity, right? And I think, yeah. So I think me and Hank talked about that before when we talked about philosophy of math and the problem of infinity itself. Infinity itself is a problem, right? So, both for science
It
and
doesn't
math.
cause me any problems, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but for math and science, it's a huge issue, right? Because it's about the complexity of space and time, and it says something about both space and time, right? For example, infinity cannot be traversed, right? So yeah, it presents a interesting problem for time, right? So yeah. Anyways, so yeah, so condensation and rarefaction. Although Anaximenes may seem to have retreated from the bold abstraction of Anaximenes. Okay, so I already read that. The impersonal mechanism marked an important departure from Anaximenes' use of divine justice to explain change. Anaximenes did not eliminate divinity altogether from his thought. Air, he believed, is a god. So it's like back to pantheism, right? Anaximenes, like Anaximander, declared that the
underlying nature. Underlying nature. Okay, so it's referring to a ruling principle within nature. I'm laughing at the numbers, but yeah, but definite, saying that it is air. It differs in rarity and density according to the substances it becomes. It becomes becoming finer. It comes to be fire. Becoming condensed, it becomes to be wind, then cloud, and then still further condensed, it becomes water, then earth, then stones, then the rest come to be out of these. He too makes motion eternal and says nature also comes to be through it. Comes to be through it. Just as
There
our
is
yeah.
there is dark water, just like there's dark mirrors. So there is this, like, I wouldn't attribute this to water itself, but there is an element that is present in many ways. You can track it in certain stages, but it's ever present, this dark mirror, this dark water, like the dark matter womb. Some might say, like, from the darkness comes the light. The light came to be after the darkness. Even the Bible, like, starts there. It's like God created the light because there's already darkness. So, and then life comes from the dark over and over and over. So there's also dark light. It's more and more condensed. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot there.
Yeah, like in the Upanishads and in the Bible, right? It's light, then water, then land. So it is very interesting that it proceeds in that particular order, right? But anyway, um, so just as our soul, being air, holds together and controls us, so do breath and air surround the whole cosmos. Right? And of course, this relates back to a spiritual concept of the breath of God itself, right? And then Anaximenes said that the principle is unlimited, boundless air out of which comes to be. Okay, this idea of coming to be is very important, right? Reducing nature to this coming to be is a very important concept, right? And the idea of this great principle, okay, whether it be God or something within nature itself, driving it from within, right? Or a dualistic principle, right? So it says so it says Anaximenes said that the principle is unlimited, boundless air out of which comes to be things that are coming to be, things that have come to be, and things that will be, and God's and divine things. The rest come to be out of the products of this. The forms of air is the following: when it is most even, it is invisible, but is revealed by the cold and hot and wet and movement. It is always moving, for all the things that undergo change would not change unless it were moving, for when it becomes condensed and finer, it appears different. For when it is dissolved into what is finer, it comes to be fire. On the other hand, air comes to be winds when it comes condensed. Cloud results from air through felting, and water when this happens to a greater degree. When condensed still more, it becomes earth. Okay, so you have sort of like the four elements there. Right, when it reaches the absolutely densest stage, it becomes stones. And of course, the four elements appear both in Chinese and Western, right? Okay, it appears in both, right? So it's important to note that as well. Just like the flood stories, right? Anaximenes determined that air is a god, and that it comes to be and is without measure, infinite, and always in motion. Okay, anyways. So there's some of the pre-Socratics, 3 guys, right? So we'll do 3 more guys next time. We'll do 3 more guys next time. Okay, and I hope you guys sort of appreciated that. We're gonna move to a little bit of Skolomowski, and then we'll move to Mander, and then we'll go to
Mumford and ellul. So to progressively get more about technology at this point, right? But yeah, some of these, some of these themes of, developing this universal idea, right, of man and the cosmos are especially important in learning how man has become the object of technique, right? Because we have certain ideas about nature and time and about mind, right? And how they relate, right? So obviously, we're going to expand into that, right, with the ideas of Pannenberg, right? So there's important guys, and of course, this principle of nature becomes more abstracted over time, as we've already seen as happening in the movement of the pre-Socratics, right? Okay, and it has to do with the more they develop an abstraction in terms of a divine principle, right? So let's check this out. Let me read some of these ideas that I put together of Pannenberg, right, from last time. And of course, he says Aristotle's idea of the telos, driving nature, right? Okay, he compares that to the ideas of Paul, right, that nature was subjected to futility, right? He talks about the supranational spirit of democratic ideas, right, that they sort of have a move towards international scope, and he thinks that this is part of the religious scope that idealizes man as a universal being, right? And then lastly, he talks about this co-creative element in which man is made in the image of God, and so he can recreate nature, right? So we have different guys that talk about this, right? Obviously, right, the three main guys that we talked about, right, were Aristotle, who created the concept of the telos, driving nature to its final cause, right? The idea of the prima materia, right? The separation between form and matter. Right, in the temporal scope. Right, and then finally, there's this idea within Aquinas, okay, of a separation of God and nature. Right, and he did this by creating the notion of creation ex nihilo. He used the ideas of Aristotle to accomplish this. Finally, we have Hegel. Right, Hegel talked about the spirit of world history. Right, and about this universal force coming to be, right? Okay, and finally, we have the notion of Teilhard de Chardin, who combines these three thinkers, Aristotle, Aquinas, and Hegel, right? And sort of invents the notion of the singularity, right? So, so there is some of Pannenberg. I'm still opening up my thing here. I could read a little bit of what I wrote about Pannenberg here. How did I end this? The notion of universality figures heavily Stoic ideal of equality. The coming of the kingdom of God. He says all faith deals with the future. He says, quote, the traditional, quote, the individual of a holy private piety and the traditional Christian authoritarian morality consciously or unconsciously help to maintain the existing structures of dominion, quote unquote. And he talks about the supranational tendency, right, in the two kingdoms approach of Christianity. One in, dealing with the world as it is and preparing for the rule to come in a new earth. Okay, Pannenberg points out that both Eusebius and Origen felt that the ending of national division would lead to the spread of Christian doctrine. Okay, so there's some of this stuff, right? And Skolomowski, right? Who's sort of expanding on these ideas, right? And sort of he's talking about the separation of knowledge and values throughout history, right? So give me a second and let me go and get some water. And yeah. Yeah, and I may play some music now. Okay, and then we'll start with Skolomowski and a little video that I have, right? So we're watching these videos. Art meets science and spirituality with the pogo sort of presenters, right? And let me throw this link in the chat again for anybody who wants to come up. Okay, we're moving on to a different topic. Several different topics. So people who didn't like the philosophy nerd stuff. Okay, we're moving on to new topics. So we'll have a little music break. This is kind of nerdy too. And we can agree and disagree with Skolomowski's sort of vision as he's laying out, right? And we could sort of look at the 10 Commandments, right, as sort of successive revelations, and study that whole thing real quick, right? So we'll get into that shortly here. I'll play a little song for you guys. And yeah, I'll just play a short song for now. Let's see what we got here. We got a couple of choices here. I make new videos for every show here, right? So I have quite a few choices here. Yeah, maybe we'll just go with this one here. Actually, you know what? Yeah, we'll go with this one here. All right, yeah, we'll be right back. Blessings, guys. Wait, hold on. Yeah, blessings. Yeah, okay, yeah, we'll just go with this one.
Tremble at the thought of what I've become. That sorry, proud image in puddles leaves me crying rivers. These tender words are muted by the stench of life long before they could ever reach your ears. You relate to mere echoes of what never stops but in my mind. Entrails of truth left to scatter at the feet of humanity. Plain sight leaves sour taste in this parched mouth. Remain stricken with doubt as I exchange pounds with those who remind me what I was and confine me to chains with my blood. Shake this feeling, warm grotesque physical whose voice provokes wonderment. Smooth violet light briefly eases the horrid sounds from belly of mechanical beasts, and that itself is extinguished as will be my voice, I suppose. From the silence arose a wail of freedom through violence. Am I permitted to vent thoughts recited a million times before? Fluid drenched, I eavesdrop onto middle America. Same concerns as my youth for blood, and yet I have to sit alone. The odd loud screech which may have startled a few from this middle poor Americana dream. The rest only to sleep. My speech the soundtrack to their nightmares. Moonlight once again burns my image once again a million times into a million minds through crust-caked eyes who only pray to die once again. To my sickness, vivid view of nothing that was ever here. Witness the subtle shifting of troubled souls towards a new mark in this wet sand. Enjoy the bland, mundane circumstance that led us to this staring match. Breathe deep within my own collapse.
All right. Yeah. So let's take a look at the Ten Commandments.
Wow, that was a sharp turn. You took that corner pretty good. Yay!
It's a strange show. It's an experimental show. So yeah. So what the fuck is this? Yeah, this looks like really weird graph here. I have no idea what they're trying to communicate. And I don't have time. So I'll just pull this up here.
Ten Commandments are dope.
I don't know if you have somebody in the back chat or not. I think maybe. Nope. Never mind.
Okay, so Okay, so if you look at these, right, they're successive commands. Is the stream not working? We may have to start a new stream.
What's wrong with the stream?
We may have to start a new one, part 2 in a second here. It happens if you open up too much stuff. Okay, yeah, we'll start a new one. How long has that been? How long has that been going on? Anyways, I don't think they can hear us. But yeah, anyways, we'll end the stream now. We'll start a part 2, right? So yeah, we'll be right back. Okay. For 1 minute? Been chopping for 1 minute? Okay, that's not that long. Let's ice it before we go any further, right?